The thing about fundraisers is that everyone pretends to care about something they'll forget by breakfast. Tonight it was literacy. Last month it was shelter dogs. Next week it'll be something with ribbons and survivor stories. I stood near the catering table, holding a glass of wine I hadn't touched in 20 minutes, watching Claire work the room like a professional politician. She moved through clusters of people with this effortless grace, touching elbows, laughing at jokes I couldn't hear, making everyone feel like they were the most important person in the room. She'd organized this whole event, pulled in sponsors, made hundreds of phone calls, coordinated volunteers. Real estate had made her good at selling things. Very good, including the version of herself she wanted people to see. The grand ballroom at the Riverside Hotel was packed. Maybe 200 people, all dressed in cocktail attire, all holding wine glasses, all performing the elaborate dance of charitable giving. The women wore dresses that cost more than my monthly car payment. The men wore suits that had been tailored by people whose names I'd never heard. Everyone smiled. Everyone networked. Everyone pretended this was about literacy and not about being seen at the right event with the right people. I recognized maybe a third of the faces. Claire's colleagues from her real estate firm, some of the nonprofit board members, a city councilman who'd shown up for the photo opportunity. The rest were strangers with expensive watches and practiced smiles. David, right? A man appeared next to me suddenly, extending his hand with the aggressive friendliness of someone who'd already had 3 drinks. Mid-40s, expensive watch. I noticed the Rolex immediately, smile that showed too many teeth. I'm James Patterson, not the writer. He laughed at his own joke. I'd heard it before, probably from him. These events tended to recycle the same people and the same jokes. I shook his hand. Firm grip, 2 pumps, release. Textbook. Yeah, David Brennan. And yeah, I've heard that one before. Of course, of course. He waved his wine glass vaguely. Claire's husband, I remember now. We met at that thing in March. The environmental something or other. Water conservation. Right, water. He nodded enthusiastically, clearly having no memory of the event. She's incredible, isn't she? Really pulling this whole thing together. The woman's got a gift for organization. You must be proud. I am. What is it you do again, David? The question everyone asked at these things. The social measuring stick. The way people decided whether you were worth their time. Facilities coordination, commercial properties mostly. Maintenance oversight, vendor management, that sort of thing. His eyes glazed over slightly. I could actually see the moment he decided I was uninteresting. Could see him mentally filing me under spouse of someone important and preparing his exit strategy. That's practical. He glanced across the room, already searching for his next conversation target. Very practical. Someone's got to keep the lights on, right? Right. Well, I should go find my wife. She's around here somewhere. He clapped my shoulder with artificial warmth. Good seeing you again, David. Keep up the good work. He was gone before I could respond. Not that I cared. I'd stopped caring about these interactions around the 3rd event Claire had dragged me to, maybe the 4th. They all blurred together after a while. Same venues, same conversations, same awkward small talk with people who'd forget my name before they finished their wine. I turned back to the catering table and grabbed a small plate. Arranged some crackers and cheese on it that I had no intention of eating. The trick to surviving these events was to always look occupied. Hold a plate, hold a drink, look like you're in the middle of something. That way fewer people approached you. Across the room, Claire was still working her magic. She'd moved to a different cluster now, standing in a circle of 5 or 6 people who were all leaning in, engaged, laughing at something she'd said. She had this way of commanding attention without seeming to try. It was genuine, too. That was the thing about Claire. She actually cared about these causes. Actually believed in making a difference. I'd loved that about her once. Maybe I still did. Hard to tell anymore. A woman in a red dress I didn't recognize gave a speech from the small stage they'd set up. Talked about literacy rates and childhood education and the power of reading. Everyone applauded at the right moments. Someone from the nonprofit gave another speech. More applause. A video played on the screen behind the stage. Footage of kids in libraries, close-ups of books, inspirational music swelling in the background. I checked my phone. 8:30. These things usually ran until 10, which meant another hour and a half of pretending to be social. My supervisor had texted earlier about a maintenance issue at the Morrison building. Nothing urgent, but the tenant was complaining about temperature fluctuations. I made a mental note to check it first thing Monday morning. Not your scene, huh? I looked up. A woman in her 50s stood next to me, also holding an untouched wine glass. She had kind eyes and a knowing smile. That obvious? I asked. Only to someone else who'd rather be anywhere else. She extended her hand. Rebecca Chen. I'm on the literacy board. Required attendance. David Brennan. Voluntary attendance. Sort of. She laughed. Spouse? That transparent. You've got the look. Slightly uncomfortable, strategically positioned near the food, checking your phone every 10 minutes. She sipped her wine. I've been married 30 years. I know the look. Fair enough. Your wife organized this? She did. Claire Brennan? Rebecca's face brightened with recognition. She's fantastic. Really passionate about the cause. We're lucky to have her on the fundraising committee. She's good at what she does. She is. Rebecca studied me for a moment. You don't seem thrilled to be here. I'm not thrilled or not thrilled. I'm just here. Diplomatic answer. She smiled. Well, for what it's worth, the food is decent and the wine is free. Could be worse. Could be worse, I agreed. She drifted away after a few more minutes of small talk. Nice woman. The kind of person who probably actually cared about literacy and wasn't just here for appearances. I lasted another 45 minutes before I needed air. Stepped out onto the terrace that overlooked the river. It was early October, cool enough that I was the only one outside. The city lights reflected off the water. Traffic hummed in the distance. Inside, the party continued without me. My phone buzzed. Claire, where are you? Terrace. Needed air. Okay, don't disappear. Thomas Vance is here. Important donor. Who? Developer. Big project in Harbor District. I'll introduce you later. I didn't respond. Just stood there watching the river and wondering when I'd become the kind of person who needed to escape his own wife's events. When I went back inside, the crowd had thinned slightly. Some people had already left. Others were clustering near the bar for one last drink before heading out. I found Claire talking to a tall man in a tailored navy suit. He was probably 45, maybe 50. Good-looking in that expensive way. Professional haircut. Perfect teeth. The kind of tan that came from ski trips and beach vacations. They were standing close. Not inappropriately close, but close. Her body angled toward him, creating a small bubble of space that excluded everyone else. His hand gestured as he spoke, and she nodded, engaged, focused entirely on him. I watched from across the room, watched the way she touched her hair, watched the way she laughed at something he said, watched the way his hand briefly touched her elbow and how she didn't pull away. Professional, collegial, normal. Except it wasn't. I couldn't explain why it wasn't. Nothing about their interaction would have seemed inappropriate to anyone else. But I knew Claire, knew her body language, knew the difference between her professional smile and her real smile. This was somewhere in between. She caught my eye and waved me over. I crossed the room, plate still in hand. David, there you are. She touched my arm briefly. This is Thomas Vance. Thomas, my husband David. We shook hands. His grip was firm, confident. The handshake of someone used to making deals. Good to meet you, David. His voice was smooth, practiced. Your wife has been telling me about your work. Facilities management, right? Coordination, close enough. Important work. Buildings don't run themselves. He smiled, but his attention had already shifted back to Claire. I was just telling Claire about the community space we're planning for the Harbor District development. I think the literacy program would be a perfect fit. That's great, I said. Thomas has been incredibly generous, Claire added, and the way she said his name, Thomas, not Mr. Vance, registered somewhere in the back of my mind. He's already committed to a major donation. Happy to help. He checked his watch. I should get going. Early meeting tomorrow, but Claire, let's definitely schedule that coffee. I'd love to show you the space in person. Absolutely. I'll email you. Perfect. He nodded at me. Nice meeting you, David. You too. He walked away, stopping briefly to shake hands with a few other people on his way to the exit. Claire watched him go, then turned to me. He's really committed to community investment, she said. This could be huge for the program. Seems like a good guy. He is. She glanced around the room. I should go thank some of the other donors. You ready to leave soon? Whenever you are. She squeezed my hand quickly and moved away, back into host mode. I watched her work the room for another 20 minutes, thanking people, making final connections, ensuring everyone felt appreciated. We left around 10:15. In the car, she was on her phone immediately, texting someone. The screen glow lit her face in the darkness as I drove. Good event, I said. She didn't look up. We raised almost $40,000. That's impressive. Thomas Vance wrote a check for 10. She said his name again, that same careful pronunciation. He's launching that new development in Harbor District I mentioned. Mixed use. Could be huge for the area. You mentioned that? He wants to grab coffee next week, talk about potential partnerships. The literacy program could use space in the development. Community rooms, resource centers, that sort of thing. Makes sense. He's really passionate about education access. Her fingers moved across the screen, typing something. It's refreshing to meet a developer who actually cares about community impact. I said nothing. Just drove. Watched the streetlights slide past. Thought about the way Thomas Vance had looked at my wife, the way she'd looked at him. "You're quiet tonight," Claire said finally, looking up from her phone. "Just tired. You're always tired lately. Long week. You work too hard." I almost laughed at that. She had no idea what my work actually involved. Hadn't asked in months, maybe longer. "Someone has to keep the lights on," I said, echoing James Patterson's words from earlier. She didn't catch the reference, just went back to her phone. We drove the rest of the way home in silence. The apartment was cold when we walked in. Claire went straight to the bedroom, already pulling off her jewelry as she walked down the hall. I stood in the kitchen, looking at nothing in particular, feeling the weight of the evening settling on my shoulders. My phone buzzed. A text from my supervisor. "Emergency call tomorrow. Heating system down at Morrison Building. Need you there 6 a.m. I texted back, "Got it. I'll be there." "David?" Claire's voice from the bedroom. "Are you coming to bed?" "In a minute." I stood there for 5 more minutes, then 10, staring at the coffee maker that Claire never used, the fruit bowl that I'd filled 3 days ago and she hadn't touched, the calendar on the refrigerator that showed her schedule, color-coded, meticulously organized, full of meetings and events and coffee dates. So many coffee dates. When I finally walked down the hall, I found Claire already under the covers, phone still in her hand, face lit by the screen glow. "What are you looking at?" I asked. "Just emails." She locked the screen quickly. "Come to sleep." I changed clothes mechanically. Jeans folded on the chair, shirt in the hamper, found my old college t-shirt and sweatpants, got into bed next to her. She turned away immediately, facing the wall. Her breathing evened out within minutes. She'd always been able to fall asleep quickly. I'd envied that ability once. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Thomas Vance's smile, about Claire's new perfume, when had she changed perfumes, about the coffee dates that had become routine over the past few months. Little things, probably nothing. Except I'd started noticing a pattern months ago, started tracking it without meaning to, started seeing the shape of something I didn't want to name. I got up quietly, careful not to wake her, and went to the living room, opened my laptop, checked my work emails, responded to 3, made notes about the Morrison Building heating system, created a checklist for Monday morning. Normal tasks, normal routine. But my mind kept drifting back to the fundraiser, to Thomas Vance's hand on Claire's elbow, to the way she'd said his name, to the coffee meeting she'd already agreed to. I pulled up my calendar and started scrolling backward through the past few months, started noting the patterns I'd been avoiding. Mid-July, Claire started going to the gym 3 mornings a week. New routine, new gym, never invited me along. August. New clothes started appearing in her closet. Nothing dramatic, but different. Bolder styles, colors she didn't usually wear. September. Her phone was always face down now. Always. On the table, on the counter, on the nightstand. And she'd changed the lock screen from our vacation photo to something generic. October. More late meetings, more coffee dates, more evenings where she came home after 9, exhausted, distant, and the perfume. The perfume had changed 6 weeks ago. I remembered because she'd sprayed it one morning, and I'd asked if it was new. She'd said yes, said she'd wanted something different, said the old one had been discontinued. Small lie, unnecessary lie, the kind of lie that makes you wonder what else isn't true. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark living room, listening to the building settle around me. The refrigerator hummed, the heating system clicked on. Traffic sounds filtered up from the street below, and I thought about infrastructure, about how buildings work, about how everything depends on systems that most people never think about. Heating, cooling, water, electricity, security, all invisible until they fail. About how people underestimate facilities coordinators, how they think we just fix toilets and change light bulbs, how they don't realize we have access to everything, keys to every door, codes to every system, knowledge of every weakness, how we're invisible infrastructure ourselves, how nobody pays attention to us. I went back to bed around 3 in the morning. Claire hadn't moved. Her phone still sat on the nightstand, screen dark, face down. I closed my eyes and thought about access. about keys and codes and systems, about how much you can learn when people forget you're there, about how much damage you can do when you understand exactly how something works. I fell asleep thinking about Thomas Vance's confident handshake, about Claire's careful pronunciation of his name, about coffee meetings that weren't just about coffee, and about how sometimes the best revenge is patient. The Morrison building heating system took 3 days to properly fix. Not because it was complicated, it was actually a straightforward valve assembly replacement, but because the contractor I'd hired was spectacularly incompetent and had to redo the work twice before admitting he needed help. I stood in the basement mechanical room at 6:30 Monday morning, watching Jake Martinez sweat through his third attempt at replacing a pressure relief valve, wondering how someone could be professionally certified and still not understand basic thermodynamics. "Try it now," he said, wiping his forehead with the back of his hand. I pressed the override button on the control panel. The system hummed to life, sounding promising for about 15 seconds. Then it made a grinding noise that shouldn't exist in a properly functioning HVAC system. Then it shut down completely. "That's not right," I said. "Yeah, I can see that." Jake stared at the valve assembly like it had personally offended him. "You're going to need to call your supervisor." He looked at me like I'd suggested he light himself on fire, but he made the call. His supervisor, a guy named Collins who actually knew what he was doing, showed up around noon, took one look at Jake's work, and sent him to go grab lunch while he fixed the mess. "Kid's got certification, but no sense," Collins muttered, pulling out tools. "Sorry about this, David. I'll have it running in an hour." "Appreciate it. How long you been facilities coordinating?" 12 years. "You?" 23 years HVAC. Seen every mistake a person can make, made most of them myself." He laughed. "That's how you learn, I guess. Make mistakes, fix them, don't make them again. Some people skip the learning part." "Truth?" He disconnected the faulty valve. "You got family?" "Wife. Kids?" "No." "Smart man. Kids are expensive." He positioned the new valve. "Wife work?" "Real estate." "Good field right now. Market's hot." "Yeah." We fell into comfortable silence. I appreciated Collins. He did his job without unnecessary conversation, but wasn't awkward about the occasional exchange. Professional, competent, rare qualities in contractors. By 1:30, the system was running perfectly. By 2, I'd filed the maintenance report and moved on to my next site inspection. The Waterford building downtown needed a routine quarterly check. I spent 2 hours walking the property with the building manager, Amanda Richardson, making notes about some water damage in the parking garage that needed attention, checking the roof access, inspecting the emergency exits. "By the way," Amanda said as we wrapped up, "you guys do work on that Harbor District project, right? The mixed-use development?" Something in my chest tightened. "Yeah, why?" "My cousin's company is doing electrical work there. Said it's been a nightmare, constant design changes, budget issues. The developer keeps changing his mind about finished materials, switching contractors mid-project." She shrugged. "My cousin says the guy's juggling too many projects at once, spreading himself thin." "Thomas Vance? That's him? You know him?" "Met him once. Briefly." "Well, according to my cousin, he's real particular. Everything has to be perfect, which is fine, except he can't make decisions. Approves something one week, changes it the next." She shook her head. "Not our problem, I guess. But my cousin's company is starting to worry about getting paid on time." "Budget issues that bad?" "Not sure. Could just be cash flow problems. Big developments tie up a lot of capital." She pulled out her phone to check something. "Anyway, probably shouldn't gossip about other projects. Professional courtesy and all that." "Probably not," I agreed. But I thought about it on the drive back to the office. Thought about Thomas Vance's expensive suit and confident handshake. About someone projecting success while the foundation cracked underneath. About juggling multiple projects, multiple commitments, trying to maintain an image that was becoming increasingly difficult to sustain. It sounded familiar. I got home around 6:30. Claire's car wasn't in the parking garage. I went up to the apartment, changed out of my work clothes, and made dinner. Pasta with jarred sauce, salad from a bag, garlic bread from the freezer. Simple, efficient, lonely. My phone buzzed at 7. Running late. Meeting went long. Don't wait up. I ate standing at the counter, scrolling through my phone, responded to a few work emails, checked the news, read an article about HVAC efficiency standards that would probably bore anyone who wasn't in facilities management. Claire came home at 10:40. I was on the couch with my laptop, reviewing maintenance schedules for the week. "Still awake?" she asked, dropping her bag on the kitchen counter. "Yeah, how was the meeting?" Exhausting. Everyone has opinions about the fundraiser follow-up strategy. She kicked off her heels. I'm going to shower. There's leftover pasta if you're hungry. I ate. She was already walking toward the bedroom. Client dinner. Client dinner. Another addition to her expanding vocabulary of late-night activities. I sat there listening to the water run, listening to drawers open and close, listening to the routine of her getting ready for bed, while I sat alone in the living room of our apartment that was starting to feel like I lived there by myself. When I finally went to the bedroom, she was under the covers, phone in hand, scrolling through something I couldn't see. Long day? I asked. Very. She didn't look up. You? Heating system emergency. Took most of the day. That was the extent of our conversation. I changed clothes, brushed my teeth, got into bed. She turned off her bedside lamp within 5 minutes. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, counting the passing cars on the street below by their headlights sweeping across the walls. Tuesday morning, I had a site inspection at the Riverside Commons building. Routine monthly check, nothing urgent. The property manager mentioned some tenant complaints about noise from the mechanical equipment, so I spent extra time in the equipment room running diagnostics. Around 11, my supervisor called. David, I need you to take point on the Harbor District project. I sat down on an equipment crate. The Vance development? Yeah. Peterson was handling it, but he's moving to the Portland office next month. We need someone with your experience level to oversee the final phases. You've done mixed use before, right? Several times. Perfect. I'm sending you the project files. Coordination meeting is this Thursday afternoon, 3 o'clock. Can you make it? Yeah, I can make it. Great. Thomas Vance likes to be hands-on, so expect him to be involved in everything. Particular guy, but he pays well and we want to keep him happy. Understood. Thanks, David. I know it's short notice. He hung up. I sat there in the equipment room, surrounded by the steady hum of machinery, processing what had just happened. I'd asked for this. Sent the email Sunday night requesting assignment to the project, but I hadn't expected it to happen so quickly. I pulled out my phone and opened my email. The project files were already there. Gigabytes of documentation, construction reports, permit documents, contractor agreements, site inspection logs, meeting minutes. I downloaded everything to my laptop and started reading. The Harbor District development was an 18-month project currently in its 14th month. Mixed use, retail ground floor, offices on floors 2 through 5, residential units above. Standard urban development design. Nothing revolutionary but well planned, and currently experiencing delays, material shortages, permit complications, contractor turnover, the usual problems, but more of them than usual. I pulled up the coordination meeting schedule, saw that they'd been happening every Thursday afternoon for the past 4 months, saw that Thomas Vance attended every single one, saw that the meetings typically lasted 2 to 3 hours. Thursday afternoons. Claire had started mentioning Thursday afternoon meetings around the same time. I sat back, thinking. Then I opened the inspection photos. Hundreds of them. Standard documentation showing construction progress, system installations, structural details. I scrolled through chronologically. Concrete foundation work from last winter, steel framework from spring, rough-ins and infrastructure from summer, interior finishing from fall, and people. Construction workers, project managers, inspectors. Everyone captured incidentally in the background of photos meant to document building systems. Photo dated August 17th. 5th floor, HVAC rough-in documentation. The photographer was shooting ductwork installation, but had accidentally captured 2 people standing near the window. One tall man in business casual, one woman in a blue coat. I zoomed in. The resolution wasn't perfect, but I recognized the coat. Claire had bought it in early August, mentioned it was perfect for site visits. I'd been confused because she didn't typically do site visits. She worked in residential sales, not commercial development. The faces were blurry, but the body language wasn't. They stood close. His hand on her lower back, her head tilted up toward him, laughing at something. I saved the photo, kept scrolling. Photo dated September 3rd. 3rd floor, electrical system inspection. Background showed a temporary construction office. 2 people visible through the window. Coffee cups on the table between them, both leaning forward, engaged, the kind of body language that suggested intense conversation. Same blue coat, same tall man. Photo dated September 24th. 6th floor, plumbing inspection. 2 people partially visible in the stairwell. Close together. One hand on the railing, one hand somewhere else. I closed the laptop, opened it again, went through the photos more systematically this time, making notes. Found 7 images over 2 months that showed Claire and Thomas Vance together at the construction site. 7 accidental captures by inspectors who were documenting building systems and had no idea they were providing evidence of something else entirely. I sat in the equipment room for another 20 minutes, listening to the HVAC system run its cycles, thinking about probability and coincidence and patterns, thinking about how I'd know for certain on Thursday. That evening, Claire came home at her usual time, 6:30. She seemed relaxed, happy even. "Good day?" I asked. "Really good, actually. I closed on 2 properties. Commission is going to be nice." She dropped her bag and started looking through the mail I'd left on the counter. "How was yours?" "Fine. Got assigned to a new project." "Oh yeah? Which one?" "Harbor District Development, mixed-use commercial and residential." She went very still for just a moment, then continued shuffling through the mail. "That's the one Thomas Vance is developing, right?" Her voice was casual. Too casual. "Yeah. Coordination meeting Thursday afternoon, I think. He mentioned something about that." She opened a credit card statement, scanned it. "Should be interesting work." "Probably." She glanced at me. "You'll meet Thomas again. He's very professional, easy to work with." "Good to know." She disappeared into the bedroom to change. I stood in the kitchen, thinking about the 7 photos, about Thursday afternoon meetings, about how she'd known exactly when the coordination meeting was scheduled without me mentioning it, about how patterns, once you started seeing them, became impossible to ignore. I made dinner, chicken, rice, vegetables. We ate at the table like we were performing the routine of a normal couple. She talked about her property closings. I listened, nodded, asked appropriate questions. She asked about my new project. I gave vague answers about construction timelines and system inspections. Normal conversation, normal evening, completely hollow. After dinner, she settled on the couch with her laptop. I cleaned the kitchen, loaded the dishwasher, wiped down the counters. Through the doorway, I could see her typing something, smiling at her screen. My phone was in my pocket. I thought about the photos on my laptop, thought about Thursday's meeting, thought about how I could confront her right now, demand explanation, force the conversation neither of us wanted to have, but I didn't, because confrontation would give her time to prepare, time to craft explanations, time to get her story straight with Thomas Vance, time to minimize and deflect and turn it around somehow. Better to know first. Better to see the whole picture before showing my hand. Better to be patient. I went to the bedroom and opened my laptop again. Went through the Harbor District project files more carefully. Read meeting minutes from the past 4 months. Noted attendees, topics discussed, decisions made. Thomas Vance attended every meeting. So did the general contractor, the project manager, 3 different subcontractors, and whoever was handling facilities coordination at the time. The meetings were held in the temporary construction office on site. Always Thursday afternoons, always 2 to 3 hours, sometimes longer. I pulled up my personal calendar and checked Claire's schedule. She'd given me view access months ago when we tried to coordinate our social commitments better. Saw Thursday afternoon blocks labeled Meeting Literacy going back 16 weeks. 16 weeks of Thursday meetings that aligned perfectly with Thomas Vance's construction coordination schedule. I sat back and exhaled slowly. There it was. The pattern laid out in calendars and meeting notes and accidental photographs. Clear as any building schematic I'd ever read. My wife was having an affair with Thomas Vance. The thought should have hit harder, should have felt devastating. But instead, I just felt tired. Tired and strangely clear-headed. Like a problem had finally been properly diagnosed after months of mysterious symptoms. Now I knew, and knowing meant I could plan. The next 2 weeks passed in a strange suspension of normalcy. I went to work, came home, spoke to Claire in polite half-sentences about nothing important. She continued her routine, gym mornings, site visits, networking coffees, late dinners with colleagues whose names kept changing. I continued mine, buildings, contractors, maintenance schedules, reports, inspections, except now I was planning something else entirely. Not frantically, not emotionally, just methodically, the way I approached any complex problem, assess the situation, identify the variables, determine the solution, execute the plan. The apartment was in both our names, but I'd put down the entire deposit, $12,000 that Claire had promised to pay back but never had. The furniture was mostly mine from before we moved in together 3 years ago. The joint account held about $8,000, money we'd saved for a vacation that kept getting postponed. We had separate retirement accounts, separate credit cards, separate car payments. Financially, untangling would be easy, though emotionally I was already untangled. That was the surprising part. How little I felt. No rage, no heartbreak, no desperate desire to fix things. Just a cold clarity that this relationship had been over for months and I'd been the only one pretending otherwise. I opened a new checking account at a different bank across town, started redirecting my paycheck. Claire never asked about finances. She made more than I did in real estate and had always paid her own way. We split rent and utilities, kept everything else separate, independent, convenient. Now it turned out to be very convenient. I started looking at apartments online during lunch breaks. Found a place in the Riverside district, 10 minutes from my office. 1 bedroom, recently renovated, decent building, available immediately. Monthly rent was actually less than half of what we paid for our current place. I scheduled a viewing for Saturday morning, told Claire I had an emergency maintenance call. On Saturday? She asked, not looking up from her phone. Heating system. They're threatening to call the city. Okay. That was it. No questions about which building or what the problem was. No interest in my work at all. The apartment was fine, nothing special, but it had working heat, hot water, good water pressure, and no emotional baggage. The building manager, an older guy named Frank, who'd clearly been doing this for decades, showed me around with professional efficiency. You'd be moving in alone? He asked. Yeah. Work nearby? 10 minutes. Quiet tenant? Very. When would you want to move in? I looked around the empty apartment. Clean walls, decent floors, functional kitchen, bathroom that wasn't falling apart, everything I actually needed. As soon as possible. I can have the paperwork ready Monday. First month, last month, security deposit. Sound good? Sounds good. I signed the lease Monday afternoon. Transferred the money from my new account. Got the keys. Didn't tell Claire. Instead, I started moving things gradually. Took a box of books to my car Monday morning, dropped them at the new place during lunch, took winter clothes Tuesday, took my toolbox and some kitchen supplies Wednesday, small loads that Claire wouldn't notice. Thursday afternoon, I attended my first Harbor District coordination meeting. The temporary construction office was exactly what I'd seen in the background of those photos. A modular trailer set up on the edge of the site, filled with folding tables, construction plans, coffee makers, and the general chaos of an active project. Thomas Vance was already there when I arrived. So were the general contractor, the project manager, an electrical subcontractor, and someone from the plumbing company. David Brennan, right? Thomas extended his hand. He'd clearly forgotten meeting me at the fundraiser. Tom Vance, good to have you on the project. We shook hands. His grip was still confident, still practiced. Thanks. Looking forward to working with you. The meeting lasted 3.5 hours. We discussed HVAC installation timelines, electrical rough-in completion, plumbing inspections, permit delays, material delivery schedules, standard coordination topics. Thomas was involved in every decision, asking detailed questions, requesting changes, wanting to review everything personally. He was also distracted, checked his phone frequently, excused himself twice to take calls, seemed preoccupied with something beyond the meeting. Around 5:30, his phone rang again. He glanced at the screen, and his whole expression changed, became softer, more engaged. Sorry, I need to take this. He stepped outside the trailer. Through the window, I watched him pace while talking, saw him smile, saw him laugh at something, saw him run his hand through his hair in that unconscious gesture of someone talking to someone they're attracted to. He came back inside 10 minutes later, apologized for the interruption, and tried to refocus. But he kept checking his phone for the rest of the meeting. When we finally wrapped up, he was the first one out the door. I stayed behind, helping the project manager roll up some plans, making small talk about construction timelines, being helpful, being invisible, being exactly where I needed to be to see Thomas Vance walk to his car and sit there for another 15 minutes, on his phone, before finally driving away. I got home around 7. Claire was in the kitchen, making dinner. How was the meeting? She asked casually. Long. Lots of details to coordinate. Thomas Vance run it? Yeah. What did you think of him? Professionally, I mean. Seems competent, detail-oriented. He is. She stirred something on the stove. He really cares about getting things right. I noticed. We ate dinner. She asked a few more careful questions about the project. I gave vague, boring answers about HVAC timelines and permit processing. She seemed satisfied that I found the project uninteresting. After dinner, she went to the bedroom to make some calls. I stayed in the living room with my laptop, continuing what had become my evening routine, moving forward with the plan. I'd created a checklist, started working through it systematically. New bank account, done. New apartment, done. Utilities transferred, done. Mail forwarded to new address, done. Important documents located and packed, done. Phone plan separated, in progress. Gradual furniture removal, in progress. Decision to leave? Already made. I spent Saturday moving more boxes while Claire was at a charity breakfast. By Sunday, I'd relocated about 60% of my belongings. The apartment looked wrong now if you paid attention. Gaps on bookshelves, missing items from the bathroom, empty space in the closet. But Claire wasn't paying attention. She was too busy with her Thursday meetings and Saturday charity events and Sunday morning gym sessions that had started lasting 3 hours. 3 hours at the gym. Right. Monday morning, I moved the last of my essential items: clothes, toiletries, laptop, files, everything I'd need immediately. The furniture could wait until she wasn't home. Tuesday, I called a moving company, scheduled them for Saturday morning, paid extra for short notice and quick service. Wednesday, I went to the office and requested Saturday off. Emergency personal business. My supervisor approved without questions. Thursday afternoon, another coordination meeting at the Harbor District site. Thomas Vance arrived 15 minutes late, apologizing about traffic. His shirt was wrinkled. He had coffee from a cafe I recognized, the expensive place near our apartment. The meeting proceeded like the previous week. Details, decisions, schedules. Thomas was more focused this time, but still distracted. Still checking his phone, still making those calls that changed his expression. I watched, learned, made mental notes. After the meeting, I sat in my car and watched Thomas Vance drive away in his black Range Rover. Followed him from a distance, just curious where he was going. He drove to the expensive coffee shop near our apartment, parked, went inside. I parked down the street and waited. 15 minutes later, Claire walked in. I watched them through the window, watched them order coffee, watched them sit at a corner table, watched them talk and laugh and touch hands across the table in ways that left no doubt about what was happening. I sat there for 30 minutes. They didn't notice me. Why would they? Just another car on a busy street. Just another invisible person in their visible world. Finally, I drove away, went to my new apartment, sat on the couch I'd brought over earlier, and felt that strange clarity settle deeper. Friday, I finalized everything. Confirmed Saturday's moving company appointment, packed the last few boxes of items I wanted, prepared the note I'd leave. 2 words. That's all it needed. Friday evening, Claire came home excited. "There's a gallery opening tomorrow," she announced, dropping her bag on the counter. "Some new artist. The fundraising committee is going. Should be good networking." "Sounds good. You should come." The invitation sounded genuine. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe she was just maintaining appearances. Hard to tell. I've got work to catch up on. On Saturday? Reports from this week. Building inspections. Better to do it while it's fresh. She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something cross her face. Concern, maybe, or calculation, or just recognition that I'd been distant lately and she should probably address it. But then her phone buzzed, and the moment passed. "Okay," she said, already checking the message. "If you change your mind, it starts at 6. I'll let you know." Saturday morning, she got ready for the gallery with extra care. Showered, did her makeup, tried on 3 different dresses before settling on a black one I'd never seen before. New purchase, probably bought specifically for this event. She came out of the bedroom looking beautiful, objectively beautiful, the kind of beautiful that had made me fall for her 3 years ago at a real estate networking event where I'd been doing a routine building inspection. "How do I look?" she asked, adjusting her earrings. "Good." She studied herself in the hallway mirror, making small adjustments. Then she turned to me. "Actually," she said, and her voice had that careful quality again, "you're not going with me today. My friends are embarrassed when I bring you around." The apartment went completely silent. She'd said it casually, matter-of-factly, like she was commenting on the weather or mentioning a grocery list item. But her eyes stayed on mine, watching for a reaction, waiting to see what I'd do. I didn't give her one. "Okay," I said. Just that. Nothing else. No anger, no hurt, no protest. She blinked. I could see surprise register. She'd expected something different. An argument, maybe. A fight. Some emotional reaction she could use to justify whatever she needed to justify to herself. "Okay," she repeated. "Yeah, have fun at the gallery." She stared at me for another long moment, clearly confused by my calm acceptance. "I'll probably be late. There's dinner after." "Sounds good." She grabbed her purse, hesitated at the door like she wanted to say something else, then left. I listened to her heels clicking down the hallway, listened to the elevator ding, listened to the mechanical hum as it descended, listened to the silence that followed. Then I called the moving company. "We're still on for today, right?" "Yes, sir. Crew will be there at 9. "Perfect." They arrived at 9:15. 3 guys with a truck. Efficient, professional, fast. I'd made a list of everything that was mine. They loaded it systematically. Couch, bookshelf, desk, bed frame, boxes, kitchen items, tools, everything. By noon, the apartment looked gutted. Not empty. Claire's furniture and belongings were still there, but hollowed out, like someone had surgically removed half the life from the space. The movers left. I walked through one last time. Living room where we'd watched movies and argued about what to order for dinner. Kitchen where we'd cooked together, back when we did things together. Bedroom where we'd slept next to each other while growing further apart every night. Bathroom where her products still lined the counter, where her robe still hung on the door, where the physical evidence of her life continued without me. I felt nothing looking at these spaces. No nostalgia. No regret. Just acknowledgement that this chapter had ended and I was ready for the next one. I sat down at the kitchen counter with a piece of paper and a pen. Thought about everything I could say. Everything I wanted to say. All the accusations and questions and confrontations. Then I wrote 2 words. Problem solved. Left the note on the counter where she'd see it immediately when she walked in. Placed my key to the apartment next to it. Walked out the door, took the elevator down, got in my car, drove to my new apartment, helped the movers unload, tipped them well, closed the door behind them, stood in my new living room, surrounded by boxes and furniture arranged in temporary configurations, and felt clean silence settle around me. My phone started ringing around 7 that evening. Claire. I didn't answer. She called again at 7:15, 7:30, 8. Each time I let it ring through to voicemail. The text messages started coming through around 8:30. Where are you? David, this isn't funny. Call me back. We need to talk about this. You can't just leave without talking. This is childish. David. I read them all. Didn't respond to any of them. Around 9, she called from a different number. I answered this time. Where are you? Her voice was tight, controlled, dangerous. My new place. Your what? I found an apartment. Moved in today. Silence on the other end. Heavy silence. I could hear her breathing, could picture her processing, could imagine her standing in our gutted apartment trying to understand what had happened. You moved out, she said finally. You said your friends were embarrassed by me. Seemed like a problem I could solve. I didn't mean you're twisting what I said. No, I'm not. You said exactly what you meant, and I'm respecting that, giving you the space you obviously want. This is insane. We need to talk. In person. Her voice shifted, became softer, more pleading. I'll come wherever you are. We can work this out. No. David, you made it very clear how you feel. I'm just acting accordingly. I was upset. I didn't mean it that way. Yes, you did. More silence. Then her voice changed again. Became harder. This is ridiculous. You're overreacting to one comment. I'm reacting proportionately to months of comments. And absences. And patterns. What patterns? The Thursday meetings that aren't about literacy. The coffee dates with Thomas Vance. The new perfume and new clothes and new gym routine. The phone that's always face down. The late nights. The distance. I kept my voice calm. Factual. All of it. You're imagining things? I have photos, Claire. 7 of them. You and Thomas at the Harbor District site over the past 2 months. Accidentally captured by our inspectors. Backgrounds of documentation photos. You didn't even know they existed. The silence that followed was different. Heavier. The silence of someone realizing their carefully constructed story had just collapsed. I can explain. Don't. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think, and we both know it. David, please, let me come talk to you. Let me explain. Good night, Claire. Don't hang up. I hung up. She called back immediately. I silenced the phone and set it face down on my new coffee table in my new apartment. It buzzed 17 more times that night. Calls, texts, voicemails I didn't listen to. I ignored all of them. Instead, I unpacked. Put my clothes in the closet, my books on shelves, my kitchen supplies in cabinets. Made the bed with sheets that smelled like laundry detergent instead of Claire's expensive perfume. Set up my desk, organized my tools, arranged the furniture until the space felt functional. Around midnight, I opened my laptop, pulled up the Harbor District project file again, reviewed Thursday's coordination meeting notes, checked the schedule for next week's meeting. Then I opened a new document and started making notes. Thomas Vance, developer, financially overextended according to Amanda's cousin, juggling multiple projects, cash flow problems, reputation dependent, image conscious, married. I'd seen the wedding ring at the fundraiser. Claire, real estate agent, image-obsessed, status-driven, embarrassed by my profession, currently having an affair with her biggest fundraising donor. 2 people who'd underestimated me. 2 people who thought they were conducting their affair invisibly. 2 people who didn't realize that invisible people see everything. 2 people who'd forgotten that infrastructure is what holds buildings up and what brings them down. My phone buzzed again. Another call from Claire. I picked it up this time and sent one text message. I need time. Stop calling. Her response came immediately. We need to talk face to face. Not tonight? When? I'll let you know. David, please. This is crazy. You're being irrational. I turned off my phone, sat in the quiet of my new apartment, and felt that clarity settling deeper, colder, more certain. They'd underestimated me, the facilities guy, the invisible infrastructure, the person who made things work without getting credit or recognition. But invisible doesn't mean powerless. An infrastructure isn't just about keeping things running. Sometimes it's about knowing exactly how to make them stop. I went to bed in my new apartment, in my new bed, in my new life, and slept better than I had in months. Dreamless, clear, ready. Sunday morning, I woke up in my new apartment to silence. Complete undisturbed silence. No alarm clock I didn't set, no movements in another room, no sounds of someone else living their life parallel to mine. Just quiet. I made coffee in my new kitchen, using the coffee maker Claire had never touched. Sat on my couch and looked out the window at a view I'd chosen for myself. The building across the street, the tree-lined sidewalk, the normal Sunday morning foot traffic of people walking dogs and getting bagels. My phone was still off. I turned it on around 9. 43 notifications. I scrolled through them without opening anything. More calls from Claire, more texts, a few voicemails. Then, starting around midnight, texts that shifted in tone. I'm sorry. Please call me. We can fix this. I made a mistake. You're right about everything. Please just talk to me. The progression from anger to bargaining. Predictable. I deleted none of it, but responded to none of it either. Instead, I got dressed and went to the hardware store. Bought new locks for the apartment. The landlord had given permission when I mentioned security concerns. Bought shelving units, organizational supplies, basic tools to replace the ones I'd left behind. Spent 2 hours making the new place more functional. Came back, installed the locks, assembled the shelves, organized my belongings properly, made the space mine. My phone rang again around 2 in the afternoon. This time it wasn't Claire. It was a number I didn't recognize with a local area code. I answered. David? A man's voice, uncertain. This is Thomas Vance. I sat down slowly on the couch. Thomas, what can I do for you? Claire gave me your number. She's really worried about you. Asked if I could, I don't know, check in maybe? Make sure you're okay? The audacity of it settled over me like cold water. That's thoughtful, I said carefully. She mentioned you two had some kind of argument yesterday, that you moved out suddenly. He sounded genuinely concerned. Good acting, or maybe he actually didn't know Claire had told me about my embarrassing existence. She's pretty upset. I told her I'd try to reach out. We're working together on the literacy program, and she seems really distressed. I appreciate your concern. Is everything okay? Do you need anything? I almost laughed. The man having an affair with my wife, calling to check if I needed anything. Everything's fine, Thomas. Just needed some space. You know how relationships can be. Sure, of course. He paused. Claire mentioned maybe you misunderstood something she said about the gallery event. So she'd already started crafting her narrative, painting me as the irrational one, the one who'd overreacted to a simple comment. No misunderstanding, I said. She was very clear. Her friends are embarrassed by me. I decided to solve that problem by removing myself from the situation. Pretty straightforward. I'm sure she didn't mean it that way. She did, but I appreciate you calling, Thomas. Very professional of you to get involved in your colleagues' personal relationships. The pause that followed was longer this time. Right. Well, if you need anything, professionally, with the project, I'll see you at Thursday's coordination meeting. Yeah, Thursday. Okay then. He hung up. I sat there holding my phone, processing the conversation, processing the fact that Claire had already pulled Thomas into this, that she'd given him my number, that they were coordinating their response together, that they were stupid enough to think I wouldn't notice. My phone buzzed. A text from Claire. Did Thomas reach you? I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back, Yes. Very interesting choice. Having your boyfriend call your husband? 3 dots appeared immediately. Disappeared? appeared again, disappeared. Then, he's not my boyfriend. He's a colleague who's concerned. Right. David, please. Can we just talk? Face to face? No. Why are you being so stubborn? I'm not being stubborn. I'm being clear. You made your feelings about me obvious. I'm respecting those feelings by staying away from you and your embarrassed friends. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then nothing. I turned my phone face down and went back to organizing my apartment. Monday morning, I went to work like normal. My supervisor stopped by my desk around 10. David, got a minute? Sure. He sat down in the chair next to my desk, which he never did. Usually meant something was coming. I got a weird call this morning, he said, from Thomas Vance. Everything in me went still, but I kept my expression neutral. Yeah? He wanted to confirm you were still assigned to the Harbor District project. Said something about personal circumstances that might affect your availability. I leaned back in my chair. Personal circumstances. His words. I told him you were still on the project and that your personal life doesn't affect your professional responsibilities. Was I wrong? No, you were right. Want to tell me what's going on? I considered how much to say. My supervisor, Greg Hutchins, was a decent guy. Fair, practical, didn't involve himself in drama unnecessarily. My wife and I separated over the weekend. She works with Thomas Vance on some nonprofit fundraising thing. She probably mentioned it to him. He probably thought he was being helpful by checking in. Greg nodded slowly. Sorry to hear about the separation. It's fine. Been coming for a while. And it won't affect your work on the project? Won't affect it at all. Good enough for me. He stood up. But David, if Vance calls again with personal questions about you, I'm shutting that down. That's not appropriate professional conduct. Appreciate it. He left. I sat at my desk thinking about Thomas Vance calling my supervisor, thinking about how that was a stupid move, a revealing move, a move that showed he was worried about something. Tuesday afternoon, I got an email from the Harbor District project manager. Subject line, Site Access Request, Claire Brennan. I opened it. David, Claire Brennan from the Literacy Initiative has requested site access for Thursday afternoon to review the community space we're designating for the program. She mentioned you two know each other. Can you coordinate with her directly, or should I handle it? Let me know. Mike, I read it 3 times. Claire wanted site access for Thursday afternoon, the same Thursday afternoon as the coordination meeting. The meeting she knew I'd be attending because I'd told her about my assignment to the project. She was trying to force a confrontation, or trying to see Thomas Vance on site, or both. I replied to Mike, I'll handle it directly, thanks. Then I called Claire. She answered on the first ring. David, you requested site access to Harbor District for Thursday. Yes, I need to see the community space, for the program. During the coordination meeting? That's when Thomas said would be convenient. No. What? No, you're not coming to the site during my meeting. That's inappropriate on multiple levels. I have legitimate professional business. Then schedule it for a different day. I'll arrange access for Friday afternoon. You can tour the space then. I need Thomas there to explain the layout. Mike, the project manager, can do that. Or I can. We both understand the space. David, you're being ridiculous. I'm being professional. You want to see the space, I'll arrange it. But not during my coordination meeting, not while I'm working. Silence. Then her voice changed. Became sharper. You can't keep me away from the project. I'm not keeping you away. I'm scheduling your access for a time that doesn't interfere with project operations. That's my job. This is about control. This is about boundaries. You wanted space. I'm giving you space. That includes professional space. I need to talk to Thomas. Then call him on your own time, not during my meeting. I hung up before she could respond. Sent an email to Mike. Claire's site visit rescheduled to Friday 2 p.m. Please coordinate with her directly for access. I'll make sure someone's available to show her the community space. Mike replied within 5 minutes. Works for me. Thanks for handling. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about how Claire had just tried to insert herself into my work, into the project where I had authority and access, into the one space where I was actually in control. Bad strategy on her part. Very bad strategy. Wednesday morning, I had a routine inspection at the Parkview Tower. Building manager mentioned they were having issues with the parking garage security system, cameras going offline randomly, access cards not reading properly. When did this start? I asked. About 3 weeks ago. Thought it was just glitches, but it's getting worse. Could be a wiring issue, or the server. I'll check it out. I spent 2 hours in the security office, running diagnostics on their system. Found the problem. Corroded connections in the junction box. Simple fix, but it had been causing intermittent failures for weeks. While I was there, the security supervisor mentioned something interesting. You guys work on Thomas Vance's projects, right? Yeah, the Harbor District development. My buddy works security for Vance's office building downtown. Says Vance has been acting strange lately. Leaving early, taking lots of personal calls, seems distracted. My buddy's worried the company might be having problems. I kept my expression neutral. That's so? Yeah. Apparently there was some issue with a contractor payment last week. Got resolved, but it was touch and go for a day or two. He shrugged. Could be nothing. But you hear things in security, you know? I know. I filed that information away. Thomas Vance's financial problems apparently worse than just spreading himself thin. Actually having cash flow issues. Actually struggling to make payments. Interesting. That evening, I went to my new apartment and did something I hadn't done before. I pulled up Thomas Vance's company information online. His development firm, Vance Properties LLC, had a website that showed 5 current projects in various stages. Harbor District was the flagship, the biggest, most visible, most expensive. I started searching public records, permit applications, construction loans, contractor liens, all public information available to anyone who knew where to look, and I knew where to look. 3 contractor liens filed against Vance Properties in the past 6 months. All resolved, but all showing delayed payments. 2 permits with stop work orders that had been lifted after compliance issues were addressed. 1 lawsuit from a previous project, settled out of court, but the filing was still visible. Thomas Vance was struggling. His company was overextended. He was maintaining the appearance of success while the foundation cracked. Just like Claire had maintained the appearance of a happy relationship while conducting an affair. Both of them living on borrowed time, borrowed money, borrowed credibility. Both of them about to discover what happened when you underestimated the person who understood how infrastructure worked. Thursday morning, I arrived at the Harbor District site an hour before the coordination meeting. Walked the property, checking on progress, making notes. The construction was actually moving well despite Vance's financial issues. Good contractors, solid work. I went to the 6th floor, the level where I'd seen those photographs of Claire and Thomas together. Stood near the window where they had stood, looked at the space they'd occupied, thinking about what they'd said to each other, how they'd justified what they were doing. Then I went downstairs to the coordination meeting. Thomas Vance arrived 10 minutes late, apologizing about traffic. He looked tired, stressed. His shirt wasn't as perfectly pressed as usual. His confidence seemed forced. David. He shook my hand quickly. Good to see you. Thomas. The meeting proceeded normally. We discussed HVAC completion, electrical inspections, upcoming plumbing rough-ins. Thomas asked his usual detailed questions, but he was distracted, kept checking his phone, kept glancing at the door like he was expecting someone. Around 4 o'clock, his phone buzzed. He looked at it, frowned, excused himself to take a call outside. Through the trailer window, I watched him pace while talking. Watched his free hand gesture in frustration. Watched him run his fingers through his hair in obvious stress. He came back inside 5 minutes later. Sorry about that. Where were we? Electrical rough-in schedule, Mike said. Right. Thomas tried to refocus, but he was clearly somewhere else mentally. The meeting wrapped up around 5:30. Everyone filed out, heading to their vehicles. Thomas lingered, checking his phone again. I was the last to leave. Stopped at the door of the trailer. Everything okay, Thomas? He looked up, startled. Yeah, fine. Just contractor stuff. Always something with these projects. Tell me about it. Listen, David. He hesitated. About that call on Sunday. Claire asked me to check on you. I probably shouldn't have gotten involved. Probably not. She's just worried. She cares about you. I almost laughed. Does she? She does. She's really upset about this whole situation. What situation would that be? He looked uncomfortable. The separation, the argument, whatever happened between you two. You mean when she told me her friends were embarrassed by me and I decided to respect her wishes by removing myself from her social circle? She said it came out wrong. It came out exactly right, Thomas. Sometimes people say what they really mean and then panic when there are consequences. He shifted his weight. Maybe you're being a little harsh. Maybe. I picked up my bag. Or maybe I'm just done pretending things are fine when they're not. Novel concept, I know. I left him standing there and walked to my car. Sat in the driver's seat for a minute, watching Thomas Vance through the construction fence. He was on his phone again, pacing, clearly agitated about something. I started my car and drove away, already thinking about Friday, about Claire's site visit that I'd rescheduled, about how I'd be there to observe it, about how interesting it would be to watch her tour the space with Mike instead of Thomas, about how patterns, once disrupted, revealed so much about the people caught in them. Friday afternoon, I arrived at the Harbor District site at 1:30, half an hour before Claire's scheduled tour. I told Mike I'd observe the walkthrough since I was coordinating all literacy program access moving forward. Sure thing, Mike said. Should be straightforward. Just showing her the community space on the second floor, maybe 20 minutes. Sounds good? Claire arrived at exactly 2 o'clock. She was dressed professionally, navy blazer, white blouse, tailored pants, her real estate showing outfit. She looked surprised to see me waiting with Mike outside the construction trailer. David, I didn't realize you'd be here. I'm coordinating all project access for the literacy program. Seemed appropriate to attend. Her jaw tightened slightly, but she recovered quickly. Of course, that makes sense. Mike led us toward the building entrance. The space is on the second floor, about 1,500 square feet, currently raw construction but designated for community use per the development agreement. We entered through the temporary construction entrance. The lobby was still bare concrete and exposed systems, but you could see the layout taking shape. Mike pointed out where the finished reception area would be, where the elevator banks would be installed, how the retail spaces would flow. Claire nodded, asked appropriate questions, played her role perfectly. We took the temporary stairs to the second floor. The community space was in the northwest corner. Good natural light, decent views, accessible from the main corridor. As you can see, Mike explained, it's completely raw right now, but the HVAC is roughed in, electrical is run, plumbing is stubbed for a small kitchenette. The build-out can be customized to whatever the literacy program needs. Claire walked the perimeter, taking photos with her phone, making notes. Professional, focused, except she kept glancing toward the door like she was expecting someone else to arrive. When will this be ready for finished work? She asked. Probably 6 weeks. We're finishing the core and shell first, then tenant improvements. And Thomas? Mr. Vance is still committed to providing the space rent-free for the first year? That's my understanding. David, you've been in the coordination meetings. Has that changed? Not that I'm aware of, I said. Claire's eyes met mine briefly. I saw something there. Calculation, maybe, or frustration. Hard to tell. Could we see the electrical room? She asked suddenly. I want to understand the building systems. For planning purposes. Mike looked confused. The electrical room? That's pretty technical for program planning. I like to be thorough. It's on the third floor, restricted access area. Not sure it's relevant to the community space. I'll show her, I said. Mike shrugged. Okay, I need to check on something with the plumber anyway. You good to finish the tour, David? Absolutely. He left. Claire and I stood in the empty community space, surrounded by concrete and exposed infrastructure. Why do you really want to see the electrical room? I asked. I told you, I like to be thorough. You've never cared about building systems before. Maybe I'm expanding my knowledge. I looked at her carefully. She was nervous, trying to hide it, but I'd been married to her for 3 years. I knew her tells. He's not coming, Claire. Who? Thomas. That's who you keep looking for. He's not on site today. Her expression tightened. I wasn't looking for anyone. I'm here to see the community space. You've seen it. Was it everything you hoped? Don't be like this. Like what? Professional? Direct? Honest? Cruel. I almost laughed. I'm being cruel. That's remarkable, coming from you. I made a mistake. You made a choice. Multiple choices. Over months. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. She took a step toward me. Can we please just talk? Really talk? Not like this. Not in some construction site. What would you like to talk about? Us. What happened? How we got here. I know how we got here. You got embarrassed by your facilities coordinator husband, started spending time with a developer who seemed more impressive, fell into something with him, kept it going, got comfortable with the deception, started resenting me for not being something I'm not. Told me your friends were embarrassed by me. I left. End of story. It's not that simple. It really is. I never wanted this. I never wanted to hurt you. You just wanted to have your affair quietly while I stayed oblivious and supportive at home. I understand. That would have been more convenient for you. She stared at me. How long have you known? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Months. Not the details, but the pattern, the distance, the changes, the signs that any person paying attention would notice. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you? She had no answer for that. I moved toward the door. Tour's over. You've seen the space. I'll email you the specifications and timeline for finish work. You can coordinate with Mike directly for any future site visits. David, we're done here. I left, walked down the stairs, out of the building, toward my car. Heard her footsteps behind me, but didn't stop. David, please. I turned. She'd followed me outside, standing on the sidewalk in her professional outfit, looking frustrated and desperate and nothing like the woman I'd married. What? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made terrible choices and I hurt you and I'm sorry. Okay. Okay? That's it? What do you want me to say, Claire? That I forgive you? That we can work it out? Go to counseling? Try again? Yes. Any of that. All of that. No. Why not? Because you told me your friends were embarrassed by me. Because you had Thomas Vance call me to check on my well-being. Because you tried to crash my work meeting. Because you're still lying about what happened and why. I unlocked my car. Because I'm done. I love you. I stopped, looked at her, saw her standing there with tears starting in her eyes, playing the scene for maximum impact. No, you don't. You love what I provided. Stability, support, someone who didn't challenge you or compete with you or embarrass you until suddenly I did embarrass you and then you didn't want me anymore. That's not true. It's completely true, and we both know it. I got in my car. She stood there on the sidewalk, crying now, watching me leave. I drove away without looking back, went to my apartment, made dinner, ate it slowly, thinking about the tour, about Claire's nervousness, about her looking for Thomas who hadn't come, about how satisfying it had been to disrupt their pattern, about how much more satisfying it would be to disrupt it further. Around 8 that evening, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. David Brennan? Yes. This is Detective Lisa Martinez with the police department. I'm calling about a complaint filed this afternoon. Everything in me went still. What kind of complaint? Claire Brennan filed a report alleging harassment. She claims you've been following her, making threatening statements, interfering with her work. I sat down slowly. That's interesting. Is it true? No. We separated last weekend. I've had minimal contact with her since. No following, no threatening statements. The only work interaction was today. I gave her a tour of a construction site that she requested access to. That's it. She mentioned the construction site, said you were intimidating during the tour. I was professional. The project manager was there for the first half. He can verify that. I'd like to get his contact information. I gave her Mike's phone number, gave her Greg Hutchins' number too, explained my role on the project, the professional context, the fact that I'd rescheduled her visit to avoid conflict. This sounds like a domestic situation, Detective Martinez said. It is. My wife is upset about our separation. This is her trying to control a situation she can't control anymore. Are you concerned about her safety? No, she's not in any danger from me. I've been clear about boundaries, and she doesn't like that. Okay, I'm going to verify your information with the contacts you provided. If everything checks out, we'll close this as a domestic issue. But Mr. Brennan? Yes? If there's any actual harassment happening, either direction, document it. Keep records. Don't engage unnecessarily. Understood. She hung up. I sat there processing what Claire had just tried to do. She'd filed a police report, tried to paint me as threatening, tried to use law enforcement to pressure me back into contact with her. Stupid move, desperate move, revealing move. I pulled out my laptop and started documenting everything, created a timeline of events since last Saturday, copied all text messages, downloaded all emails, created a folder with the photographs from the Harbor District site showing Claire and Thomas together, evidence, documentation, the kind of infrastructure you build before you need it. My phone buzzed. Text from Claire. I'm sorry about the police. I panicked. I just want to talk to you. I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back. You tried to file a false police report against me. We will never talk again. All future communication goes through lawyers. David, please. I blocked her number. Then I opened my email and searched for family law attorneys in the area. It was time to make this official. Saturday morning, I met with an attorney named Patricia Wolf. Her office was in a downtown high-rise, tastefully decorated, professional without being intimidating. She was maybe 50, gray hair pulled back, sharp eyes that missed nothing. Tell me about your situation, she said. I walked her through everything. The separation, the affair, Claire's attempt to use police to force contact, my documentation. Do you have proof of the affair? She asked. I showed her the photographs from the construction site, showed her the calendar alignments, showed her the text messages and call logs. She studied everything carefully. This is solid, very organized. You work in facilities management? Coordination, yes. It shows. Most people don't document this thoroughly. She made notes. What are your goals here? Clean separation, fair division of assets, no ongoing drama. Children? No. That simplifies things. How long were you married? 3 years. Lived together for one before that. And the apartment? Both names on the lease. I paid the deposit. I've already moved out. I'm willing to let her keep it if she wants. Generous. I don't want anything that ties me to her. Patricia nodded. I can file separation papers Monday. We'll request mediation for asset division. Given the affair and your documentation, you're in a strong position. Most likely outcome is a straightforward split with no spousal support either direction. How long does the process take? In this state, 6 months minimum from filing to final decree if everything goes smoothly. Could be longer if she contests anything. She'll probably contest. Most people do initially, then they realize it's expensive and pointless. Patricia closed her notepad. My retainer is $5,000. I'll need that before I file Monday. I wrote the check. She gave me paperwork to sign. We scheduled a follow-up for Wednesday. I left her office feeling like I'd made progress. Official legal motion, documentation in professional hands, the machinery of divorce grinding forward. I spent the rest of Saturday organizing my apartment, went to the grocery store, bought real food, cooked actual meals instead of surviving on takeout, went to the gym for the first time in months, came back tired in a good way, normal activities, normal day, normal life rebuilding itself without Claire in it. Sunday, I worked on project reports from my laptop, reviewed the Harbor District construction schedule, made notes about upcoming inspections, prepared for Thursday's coordination meeting. Around 3 in the afternoon, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole. Thomas Vance stood in the hallway. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Thomas, this is unexpected. David, He looked uncomfortable. Can I come in? I'd like to talk. About what? About Claire. About this whole situation. There's nothing to discuss. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. He came in, looked around my apartment with obvious assessment. Nice place. It's functional? He sat on my couch without being invited. I remained standing. I came to explain, he said. Explain what? About Claire, about what happened between us. You mean the affair? He flinched at the word. It wasn't supposed to happen. Neither of us planned it. I'm sure. We were working together on the literacy program, spending time together. She was having problems at home? Don't. My voice came out harder than intended. Don't pretend you know what was happening in my marriage. Don't pretend Claire was some victim who needed rescuing. And definitely don't pretend this just happened like weather. I'm not. You are. You're sitting in my apartment, trying to explain away an affair like it was accidental. Like you both just stumbled into months of deception by mistake. He looked down. You're right. That's not what I meant. What did you mean? I meant I made terrible choices. We both did, and I'm sorry. Why are you here, Thomas? Really here? He met my eyes. Claire is falling apart. She won't eat, won't sleep, just calls me crying. She's devastated about losing you. Is she? She is, and I feel responsible. If we hadn't, she'd have found someone else eventually. This isn't about you. It's about who Claire is and what she wanted from her life. You just happened to be convenient. That landed. I saw him process it, saw the realization that maybe he wasn't special, just available. Look, I said, I appreciate you coming here. I appreciate you feeling guilty. But this isn't your problem to solve. Claire and I are over. We're getting divorced. She needs to accept that and move on, with or without you. She wants to try again. I don't. She thinks if she could just explain. There's nothing to explain. I understand exactly what happened. She got bored with me, found someone more exciting, enjoyed the affair, got caught, and now wants to undo the consequences. Standard story. It's more complicated than that. It really isn't. I walked toward the door. You should go. He stood slowly. David, I really am sorry, for what it's worth. It's worth nothing, but thanks for saying it. He walked to the door, then stopped. Are you going to cause problems with the project? or with Claire's work on the literacy program. There it was, the real reason he'd come. Not guilt, fear. I'm going to do my job professionally, I said. Harbor District is my assignment. I'll complete it to the standards expected. What happens between you and Claire is irrelevant to that work. Okay, good. But Thomas? Yeah? Stay away from me. Don't call my supervisor again. Don't show up at my apartment again. Don't involve yourself in my personal business. We're professionals working on the same project. That's it. He nodded. Understood. I closed the door behind him, stood there for a moment, processing the conversation. Thomas Vance had come to my apartment, possibly because he felt guilty, probably because he was worried I'd make trouble for him professionally, definitely because Claire had sent him. Another stupid move. Another revealing move. I pulled out my phone and called Patricia Wolf's emergency line. She answered on the third ring. David, what's wrong? Thomas Vance just showed up at my apartment. The man having an affair with my wife. He wanted to talk about Claire, about the situation, about how sorry he is. Did you let him in? Briefly. Stupid mistake. But he made some interesting statements about Claire's mental state and his feelings about the whole thing. Did you record it? No. Damn. Did anyone see him arrive or leave? Possibly. It's an apartment building. Cameras in the hallways. Get that footage if you can. Document the visit. Write down everything he said while it's fresh. This is harassment, David. Or at minimum, inappropriate interference. Noted. If he shows up again, don't engage. Call the police, file a report, create a paper trail. Will do. And David? This makes your case stronger. The affair partner showing up at your home uninvited? That plays very badly for them in mediation. I hung up and immediately wrote down everything Thomas had said, exact quotes where I could remember them. Then I went downstairs and talked to the building manager about accessing hallway camera footage. Monday morning, I filed a formal complaint with my supervisor about Thomas Vance's continued inappropriate contact. Included the apartment visit, the phone call to Greg checking on my assignment, the overall pattern of boundary violations. Greg took it seriously. This is unprofessional on multiple levels, he said. I'll contact Vance directly and make clear that any future communication about you must go through me. Personal visits to your residence are absolutely unacceptable. Appreciated. You want to be reassigned from the Harbor District project? No, I want to finish what I started. He looked at me carefully. You sure? I'm sure. Okay, but if this escalates further, we need to document everything. I won't have our coordinators harassed by clients. Monday afternoon, Patricia filed the separation papers. Called me at 4 to confirm. It's official. Claire will be served tomorrow. Expect her to react strongly. I expect she will. Remember, no direct contact. Everything goes through me. Understood. Tuesday afternoon, while I was conducting a routine inspection at the Riverside Commons building, my supervisor called. David, we've got a situation at Harbor District. What kind of situation? Someone vandalized Thomas Vance's truck, parked on site. Tires slashed, paint scratched, windows smashed. Happened sometime last night? Everything in me went cold. And Vance is suggesting you might be involved. That's ridiculous. I know it is. I told him exactly that. But he's filing a police report, and he specifically mentioned your name as a person of interest. I was home last night. All night. I can prove it. You'll need to. The police will probably want to talk to you. Let them come. I finished the inspection on autopilot, my mind racing. Someone had vandalized Thomas Vance's truck at the Harbor District site. The same site where I was the primary facilities coordinator, with access to everything. The same site where security cameras captured all activity. I drove straight to Harbor District, found the site security supervisor, a guy named Frank, who I'd been working with for weeks. Frank, I heard about Vance's truck. Yeah, real mess. Someone did a number on it last night. What time did it happen? Between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. That's when it was parked here overnight. You have camera footage? Police already requested it. They'll be reviewing it today. Can I see it? Why? Because Vance is suggesting I might be involved. I need to see what the cameras caught. Frank considered this, then nodded. Come on. We went to the security office. He pulled up the footage from last night. Multiple cameras covering the parking area where Vance's truck had been parked. We watched and fast forward. Saw Vance park around 8 p.m., saw him leave in a different vehicle, a sedan I didn't recognize, saw the truck sit undisturbed for hours. Then, around 2:15 a.m., a figure appeared. Average height, dark clothes, hoodie obscuring their face. Moved quickly to the truck. Spent maybe 3 minutes doing damage. slashed tires with something sharp, keyed the paint in long scratches, smashed windows with what looked like a tire iron, then walked away calmly. Never looked at the cameras directly, never rushed. Just methodical destruction and a calm exit. Did they come in through the gate? I asked. Cut a hole in the fence. We found it this morning. So they knew where the truck would be, knew when security rounds happened. Came prepared with tools? Yeah, this was planned. I watched the footage 3 more times. The figures build, movement, behavior. That's not me, I said. I can see that. Can you tell the police that definitively? I can tell them the person on the footage doesn't match your height or build, but they'll want to talk to you anyway. I'll make myself available. I left the site thinking about who would vandalize Thomas Vance's truck, who had motive, who had information about where it would be and when, who might be stupid enough or desperate enough to think property damage would solve anything. An hour later, Detective Martinez called me. Mr. Brennan, we need to talk about an incident at the Harbor District construction site. I heard about it. I reviewed the security footage. That's not me on the cameras. Can you account for your whereabouts last night between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m.? I was home all night. My apartment building has cameras. My laptop has time-stamped activity. I filed project reports from 8 to 11 p.m., went to bed, woke up at 6. I'll need to verify that. Whatever you need. She showed up at my apartment an hour later with another officer, checked my building's security footage, verified my entry at 7:30 p.m. and no exit until 6:45 a.m. Checked my laptop activity logs showing work files accessed throughout the evening. You're clear, she said. The person on the construction site footage doesn't match your physical description anyway, but we had to verify. I understand. Do you have any idea who might have done this? I thought carefully about how to answer. Thomas Vance has been having financial problems. His company is overextended. He's juggling multiple projects. Could be a contractor dispute, could be a business enemy, could be someone he wronged. Or it could be related to his personal life. Could be. She looked at me carefully. Your wife is having an affair with Mr. Vance. Soon-to-be ex-wife, yes. Could she be involved? I doubt it. Property destruction isn't her style, but I don't really know anymore. Martinez made notes. We'll investigate all possibilities. But Mr. Brennan, stay away from Thomas Vance. Stay away from his properties. Don't give anyone reason to point fingers at you. I have legitimate work at Harbor District. I understand. Do your work professionally and keep your distance otherwise. After she left, I sat in my apartment thinking about the vandalism, about who had done it and why, about how it had happened right after Thomas visited my apartment, right after Claire was served with separation papers, right after everything had escalated, about how sometimes problems solve themselves when you just wait and watch, about how infrastructure doesn't always fail by accident. Sometimes it fails because someone knows exactly where the weak points are. Wednesday morning, Patricia Wolf called me at work. Claire responded to the separation filing. That was fast. She's contesting the terms, wants spousal support, half the deposit you paid on the apartment, and she's claiming emotional distress. I leaned back in my chair. Emotional distress. Her attorney is painting you as abandoning the marriage without warning. Says you left abruptly, refused counseling, and have been hostile and uncooperative. I have documentation that says otherwise. I know you do. That's why we're in a strong position. But this means she's fighting, which means mediation will be contentious. Patricia paused. There's something else. What? She's requesting that the court order you to stay away from Harbor District project. Claims your presence there constitutes workplace harassment because she has legitimate business there for the literacy program. I actually laughed. She's trying to get me kicked off my own work assignment. Yes, it won't work. She has no legal basis, but it shows her strategy. She's trying to make your life difficult in any way possible. Noted. Mediation is scheduled for next Wednesday. Be prepared for her to be aggressive. She's not accepting reality yet. After the call, I sat at my desk thinking about Claire's response, about how she'd gone from apologetic to combative in less than a week, about how she was trying to weaponize the legal system to force me back into contact with her, about how desperation made people stupid. Thursday afternoon, I arrived at the Harbor District Coordination meeting early. The vandalism to Thomas Vance's truck had been the talk of the construction site all week. Police were still investigating. Thomas had filed an insurance claim. Security had been increased. Thomas arrived 10 minutes late, looking worse than last week. Dark circles under his eyes, wrinkled shirt again, his confident demeanor completely gone, replaced by obvious stress. Sorry I'm late, he said, not making eye contact with anyone. Let's get started. The meeting was tense. Thomas was distracted, irritable, kept checking his phone. When Mike, the project manager, asked about a design decision that needed approval, Thomas snapped at him. I already approved that. Why are you asking again? You approved version A last week. The contractor is asking if you want to switch to version B because of cost savings. I don't care. Pick one. I can't make every single decision on this project. Mike and I exchanged glances. This wasn't normal Thomas Vance behavior. The detail-oriented developer who wanted control over everything was suddenly delegating because he couldn't handle the pressure. The meeting ended early. Everyone left quickly, sensing Thomas's mood. I lingered, pretending to review notes on my tablet. Thomas sat at the table with his head in his hands. You okay? I asked, knowing the answer. He looked up, surprised I was still there. Yeah, fine, just a tough week. The truck situation? That and other things. He rubbed his face. Business problems, personal problems, everything at once. Sounds rough. You have no idea. He looked at me directly. Actually, you probably do, given everything with Claire. I said nothing. She's not doing well, he continued. Calls me constantly. Shows up at my office, at my house. She's falling apart, and I don't know how to help her. That's not your problem to solve. She says you won't talk to her, that you blocked her number, that your lawyer is being aggressive about the divorce. My lawyer is being appropriate. Claire filed for spousal support and is trying to make me pay for her choices. That's not aggressive, that's defensive. Thomas looked away. I feel responsible. You are responsible. So is she. So am I, for not seeing it sooner, but what's done is done. She thinks if we could all just sit down and talk. No. David, no. There's nothing to talk about. She made her choices. I made mine. End of story. He stood up, agitated. You're being unreasonable. I'm being clear. There's a difference. She loves you. She wants to fix this. She loves the idea of not facing consequences. That's different from loving me. You're wrong about her. Thomas, stop. I stood up too, keeping my voice calm. Stop defending her. Stop involving yourself in my divorce. Stop showing up at my apartment or calling my supervisor or trying to mediate something that isn't your business. She asked me to talk to you. I don't care what she asked. I'm telling you to stop. This is the last time I'm saying it politely. Something in my tone registered. He stepped back slightly. Are you threatening me? I'm setting a boundary. Same thing I've been doing with Claire. Same thing you both keep ignoring. I picked up my bag and left the trailer. Got in my car and sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel, thinking about Thomas Vance's deterioration, about Claire's desperation, about how both of them were spiraling and making it worse with every stupid decision, about how satisfying it was to watch. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number, answered it carefully. David Brennan? Yes. This is Jennifer Harris. I'm Thomas Vance's wife. Everything in me went still. Mrs. Vance. Call me Jennifer. I think we should meet. There are things we need to discuss about our respective spouses. I'm not sure that's appropriate. Neither is what they've been doing for the past 6 months, but here we are. Her voice was calm, controlled, cold. Coffee tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., the Riverside Cafe downtown. I'll be at the back table. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding my phone, processing this new development. Thomas Vance's wife knew about the affair. Wanted to meet with me. Had information about the timeline. 6 months, she'd said. Longer than I'd documented. This changed things. Friday morning, I arrived at the Riverside Cafe at 9:50. Found Jennifer Vance already seated at the back table, coffee in front of her, tablet beside her, looking every bit the professional woman scorned. She was maybe 40, blonde, attractive in that carefully maintained way that spoke of yoga classes and expensive skincare. She looked up when I approached. David. Jennifer. I sat down. A server came by and I ordered coffee. Thank you for meeting me, Jennifer said. I wasn't sure I should. I wasn't sure I should call, but I think we're in similar situations and maybe we can help each other. Help each other how? She slid her tablet across the table. On the screen was a series of text messages between Thomas and someone saved as CL. I scrolled through them, recognized the tone, the careful phrasing, the coded language that people having affairs think is subtle. Miss you. Thinking about Thursday. Can't wait to see you. He doesn't suspect anything. That last one made my stomach turn. How long have you known? I asked. 2 months. I found the messages on his iPad, confronted him. He denied it at first, then admitted to an emotional affair, claimed nothing physical had happened. She laughed bitterly. I didn't believe him then? I definitely don't believe him now. When did it start? Based on the messages I found, at least 6 months ago. Probably longer. They're good at deleting things. Why are you showing me this? Because Thomas came home Sunday night and told me you showed up at the construction site and vandalized his truck. I didn't. I know. The police cleared you, but Thomas is convinced you're out to destroy him. He's paranoid, stressed, barely sleeping, keeps saying you're going to ruin his business, ruin his reputation, ruin everything. I'm just doing my job. I believe you, but Thomas has always been dramatic, and right now he's spiraling. She took back the tablet. He's made some very poor financial decisions in the past year. Overextended the company, took out loans against our house, started 3 projects simultaneously that he couldn't really afford. Why? Because he was trying to impress someone, trying to seem more successful than he actually is, trying to be the big developer who sweeps in and saves community programs with generous donations. She met my eyes. He was trying to impress your wife. That landed. The literacy program donation, I said. $10,000 we couldn't afford, but Claire was impressed, and Thomas liked being impressive, so he kept going, kept spending, kept making promises, and now our finances are a disaster. Does Claire know any of this? I doubt it. Thomas is good at maintaining appearances. But the contractors know, the banks know, I know. She paused. And soon everyone will know. What do you mean? I'm divorcing him. Filing next week, and I'm going to make sure every financial detail comes out in court. Every bad loan, every overextended project, every penny he borrowed to fund his lifestyle and impress his mistress. The way she said mistress, cold and sharp, made it clear she blamed Claire as much as Thomas. Why are you telling me this? I asked again. Because I want you to know what you're dealing with. Thomas is desperate. He's going to fight to save his reputation and his business. He might do something stupid. He might try to blame you for things that aren't your fault. I want you to be prepared. Prepared how? Document everything. Keep records. Don't trust him. Don't trust Claire. They're both liars who are now panicking because consequences are catching up with them. She finished her coffee. And David, whatever happens with the Harbor District project, don't feel bad. Thomas deserves whatever's coming to him. She stood up, left cash on the table for her coffee, and walked out. I sat there processing the conversation. Jennifer Vance had just given me ammunition, had confirmed the financial problems, had verified the 6-month timeline, had made it clear that Thomas's world was about to collapse regardless of what I did or didn't do. Sometimes revenge doesn't require action. Sometimes it just requires patience while people destroy themselves. The following Tuesday, I was conducting a routine inspection at the Waterford building when my supervisor called. David, we have a situation. What kind of situation? Thomas Vance called. He's requesting you be removed from the Harbor District project immediately. Claims you're sabotaging construction progress. That's absurd. I know it is, but he's threatening to terminate our contract if we don't comply, and that contract is worth $200,000. I sat down on a concrete step. What kind of sabotage is he claiming? He says work orders are being delayed, inspections are taking too long, and that you're being deliberately obstructive. Says he has documentation. I have documentation too. Every inspection, every report, every approval has been processed within standard timelines. Some things are delayed because of his own contractor issues, not because of me. Can you prove that? I can prove all of it. Every single claim he's making is false, and I have time-stamped records to back it up. Greg was quiet for a moment. Send me everything. Every report, every timeline, every communication with Vance's team. I need ammunition to push back on this. You'll have it within an hour. I spent the next hour in my car, compiling documentation. Every inspection report from Harbor District, every email exchange, every meeting note, every approval timeline. Created a comprehensive file showing that not only had I not delayed anything, but I'd actually processed things faster than standard protocol required. Sent it all to Greg. He called back 30 minutes later. This is solid, David, really solid. I'm sending it to Vance with a formal response that his claims are unfounded and that any attempt to remove you from the project will result in us reviewing the entire contract relationship. Thank you. But I want you to be careful. Vance is acting erratic. People who are cornered do unpredictable things. That evening, I got a text from an unknown number. You need to stop whatever you're doing before someone gets hurt. I stared at it. No name, no context, just a vague threat. I forwarded it to Patricia Wolf with a note. Another escalation. She called immediately. This is harassment. File a police report. I don't know who sent it. Doesn't matter. File the report anyway. Create a paper trail. If this escalates to actual threats, you'll need the documentation. I went to the police station and filed a report. Detective Martinez took my statement. This related to the Vance situation? Probably, but I can't prove it. We'll document it. If you get more threats, report them immediately. Wednesday morning was the mediation session. Patricia and I arrived at her office at 9. Claire and her attorney showed up at 9:15. I hadn't seen Claire in person since the Harbor District site tour. She looked terrible. Weight loss, dark circles under her eyes, hair not quite as perfectly styled as usual. She avoided looking at me. Her attorney, a severe woman named Barbara Chen, started aggressive. My client has been abandoned without warning. She's suffering emotional distress. She's entitled to compensation for... Patricia cut her off. Your client engaged in a 6-month affair with Thomas Vance. We have photographic evidence, testimony from third parties, and electronic records confirming the relationship. She has no grounds for any claim of abandonment or distress. Barbara blinked. That's not relevant to... It's entirely relevant. Your client's affair is the direct cause of the marriage breakdown. She has no standing to claim emotional damages from the natural consequences of her own actions. The mediation went downhill from there. Claire's attorney tried to claim I'd been emotionally absent, that the affair was a symptom of problems I'd caused, that I owed Claire support while she rebuilt her life. Patricia systematically destroyed every argument with documentation. By noon, Barbara Chen was suggesting a quick settlement. Split everything 50-50, no spousal support either direction, clean break. Agreed, I said immediately. Claire looked like she'd been hit. That's it? You're just going to walk away? Yes. David, please? Can we just talk? Alone? Just 5 minutes? No. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made terrible mistakes. Claire. I kept my voice flat. Sign the settlement. Move on with your life. Stop trying to turn this into something it isn't. What is it then? It's over. That's what it is. She started crying. Her attorney put a hand on her arm, trying to calm her. Patricia started preparing the settlement paperwork. I'll have this ready for signatures by Friday, Patricia said. We left. In the parking lot, Patricia turned to me. That went better than expected. Because Claire finally realized she has no leverage. Exactly, she'll sign. Probably try to contact you one more time before she does, but she'll sign. That evening, I was at my apartment when someone knocked on the door. I checked the peephole. Claire stood in the hallway. I opened the door, but blocked the entrance. You shouldn't be here. I know. I needed to see you. To talk to you without lawyers. There's nothing to say. Please, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She came in, looking around the apartment the same way Thomas had. It's nice, she said quietly. It's mine. She turned to face me. I messed up. I know I did. I made horrible choices and I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay? That's all you're going to say? What do you want me to say, Claire? That I forgive you? That we can start over? What's the outcome you're hoping for here? I want another chance. I want to go to counseling. I want to prove that I can be better. Why? Because I love you. No. You love not being alone. You love not facing the reality that you destroyed something good because you got bored. You love the idea of fixing this so you don't have to feel guilty, but you don't love me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have done any of this. She wiped tears from her face. That's not fair. It's completely fair. You had an affair for 6 months. 6 months, Claire. That's not a mistake. That's a choice you made over and over again. I was confused. You were selfish. There's a difference. Why are you being so cruel? I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. Something you should try. She stared at me, and I saw the moment her sadness turned to anger. You know what? Fine. You want honesty? You were boring, David. You were safe and stable and boring. Thomas made me feel alive. Made me feel seen. Made me feel like I mattered. And how's that working out for you now? What? Thomas, how's that relationship going? Still feeling alive? Her expression faltered. He's pulling away, isn't he? I continued. Probably started right around the time his wife found out. Probably accelerated when his financial problems became obvious. Probably got worse when his truck got vandalized and he realized his perfect life was falling apart. How do you know about... I know everything, Claire. I've known for months. And I know Thomas Vance is a desperate man who's about to lose his business, his marriage, and his reputation, and I know you tied yourself to him thinking he was going to be your upgrade. How's that feeling right about now? She looked stricken. You're enjoying this. I'm not enjoying anything. I'm just done pretending. Thomas said you were trying to ruin him. Thomas is paranoid and spiraling. I'm doing my job. If his business is failing, that's because of his own bad decisions, not because of me. You did something. I know you did something. I moved out of our apartment after you told me your friends were embarrassed by me. That's what I did. Everything else? That's you and Thomas dealing with the consequences of your own choices. She stood there shaking. I hate you. No, you hate yourself. And you should. Sign the settlement papers Friday. Move on. Find someone else to blame for your problems. You're going to regret this. I really won't. She left, slammed the door behind her. I stood in my apartment listening to her footsteps fade down the hallway, feeling nothing but tired relief. My phone buzzed. Text from Patricia. Claire's attorney just called. They're signing the settlement Friday morning. It's over. I sat down on my couch and let that sink in. The marriage was over, officially, legally, finally over. Now I could focus on the other problem. Thursday afternoon, I arrived at the Harbor District site for the weekly coordination meeting. Security had been visibly increased after the truck vandalism. More cameras, more patrols, proper fencing replacing the cut sections. Thomas Vance was already in the trailer when I arrived, talking quietly with Mike, the project manager. He looked even worse than last week. His suit was rumpled, his hair was uncombed, his hands shook slightly when he picked up his coffee cup. David, he said flatly. Thomas. The meeting started tense. Thomas was aggressive from the beginning, questioning every timeline, challenging every decision, acting like everyone was conspiring against him. Why is the electrical inspection delayed? He demanded. It's not delayed, Mike said patiently. It's scheduled for Monday. That's the standard timeline. It should have been done already. The rough-in was completed Tuesday, 48 hours minimum before inspection. That puts us at Monday. That's code requirement. Find a way to speed it up. I can't speed up building code, Thomas. Thomas turned to me. You're the facilities coordinator. You have relationships with the inspectors. Can't you expedite this? No. Mike's right. 48 hours minimum is code. We can't change that. You're not even trying. I'm following regulations. That's my job. Thomas stood up abruptly. Your job is to make this project run smoothly. Instead, you're creating obstacles at every turn. I've created 0 obstacles. I have documentation proving. I don't care about your documentation. I care about this project being completed on time and on budget. And right now it's neither. Mike intervened. Thomas, the delays aren't because of David. We've had contractor turnover, material shortages, permit issues. None of that is related to facilities coordination. Everything is related. Everything is connected. And I'm starting to think some of these problems aren't accidental. The room went quiet. What are you suggesting? I asked carefully. I'm suggesting that someone with access to this site and knowledge of construction schedules could cause a lot of problems without leaving obvious evidence. You think I'm sabotaging your project. I think you have motive and opportunity. I have documentation showing. I don't care about your documentation. Thomas was shouting now. Someone vandalized my truck. Someone is delaying my project. Someone is trying to ruin my business. And the only person with motive is you. I stood up slowly. I didn't vandalize your truck. The police cleared me. I didn't delay your project. Your own contractor issues did that. And if your business is failing, that's because you overextended yourself financially trying to impress my wife while having an affair with her. That's on you, not me. Thomas went pale. Mike and the other contractors looked shocked. Everyone out, Thomas said quietly. I need to talk to David alone. The others filed out quickly. Mike gave me a concerned look, but I nodded that it was okay. The door closed. Thomas and I stood across the table from each other. You know about the finances, Thomas said. Your wife told me. Jennifer talked to you? Last Friday. Told me everything. The overextended loans, the projects you couldn't afford, the money you spent trying to maintain an image that wasn't real. Thomas sat down heavily. I'm going to lose everything. Probably. Jennifer's divorcing me. The banks are calling in loans. Contractors are threatening to walk off projects. Everything I built is falling apart. That's what happens when you build on a foundation of lies. He looked up at me. Did you do this? Any of this? I moved out of my apartment after my wife told me I embarrassed her. I filed for divorce. I did my job professionally on your project. That's it. Everything else? That's you dealing with the consequences of your choices? Someone vandalized my truck. Not me. And honestly, Thomas, maybe it was a contractor you stiffed. Maybe it was a business partner you screwed over. Maybe it was one of the dozen people you probably wronged while pretending to be more successful than you actually are. But it wasn't me. He put his head in his hands. I don't know what to do. You accept responsibility. You stop blaming other people. You figure out how to salvage what you can and move forward. Claire said you were trying to ruin me. Claire is desperate and looking for someone to blame, same as you. Are you saying I deserve this? I thought about that question carefully, about Jennifer Vance's cold anger, about Claire's tears that felt more like self-pity than actual remorse, about Thomas sitting here broken and looking for sympathy from the husband of the woman he'd been having an affair with. I'm saying you made choices that had consequences. We all did. But you're the one who decided to build a fake life funded by loans you couldn't afford to impress a woman who wasn't your wife. So yeah, maybe you deserve some of this. I picked up my bag and headed for the door. David? I stopped. I really am sorry. For all of it. I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix anything. It just makes you feel better about the damage you caused. I left the trailer, got in my car, sat there for a moment watching construction workers move around the site, doing their jobs, building something real with their hands while the people making the decisions fell apart around them. My phone rang, Jennifer Vance. I answered. David, I thought you should know. Thomas got served with divorce papers this morning. He didn't take it well. I just left a meeting with him. He's not in good shape. I know, his secretary called me, said he's been erratic all week, snapping at employees, missing appointments, making bad decisions. He accused me of sabotaging his project. Are you? No? Good. Because I'm about to do something much more effective than sabotage. What's that? I'm calling in my half of our shared business assets, forcing liquidation of our joint investments. It's my legal right as a divorcing spouse, and it's going to completely collapse his cash flow. She paused. His projects will survive, but he won't be the developer anymore. The banks will force him to sell or bring in partners. His name comes off everything. That's brutal. That's fair. He used our money to impress his mistress. Now I'm taking it back. When? Tomorrow morning. My attorney is filing the paperwork tonight. She hung up. I sat in my car processing what she'd just told me. Thomas Vance's business was about to collapse. Not because of anything I'd done, not because of sabotage or vandalism or mysterious delays, because his wife was taking back what he'd stolen from their marriage. Sometimes revenge is just consequences. Sometimes the infrastructure collapses because it was built on sand. I drove home thinking about tomorrow, about how Thomas would react when his business imploded, about how Claire would react when her impressive developer turned out to be broke and desperate, about how satisfying it was to watch everything fall apart without lifting a finger, about how patience and documentation and simply stepping back was more effective than any aggressive action could have been. Atheo, I got home, made dinner, opened my laptop, pulled up my project files, started preparing my final reports for the Harbor District project. Because Thomas Vance wouldn't be my problem much longer, and Claire wouldn't be my problem at all. The divorce settlement was being signed tomorrow morning. The infrastructure I'd built over 3 years, the shared life, the joint accounts, the combined future, was being officially demolished, and I felt nothing but relief. My phone buzzed. Text from Patricia. Settlement signing confirmed for 9 a.m. tomorrow. After that, you're officially done with her. I typed back, good. Then I closed my laptop, poured a drink, and sat on my couch in my apartment that belonged only to me, thinking about how sometimes the best revenge is just being the one person who tells the truth while everyone else drowns in their own lies. About how infrastructure, real infrastructure, not the fake kind built on borrowed money and borrowed credibility, always survives when everything else collapses. About how I'd survived, and how they wouldn't. Friday morning, I sat in Patricia Wolf's office watching Claire sign the divorce settlement papers. Her hand shook slightly as she wrote her name. Her attorney sat beside her looking relieved this was finally over. Patricia slid the papers across to me. I signed without hesitation. That's it, Patricia said. You're officially separated. The decree will be final in 6 months, but as of right now, you're legally distinct entities. No shared assets, no shared obligations. Claire stood up quickly, not looking at me. Her attorney gathered papers. Claire, I said. She stopped at the door. Good luck with everything. She didn't respond, just walked out. Patricia waited until the door closed. How do you feel? Free? Good, that's the right answer. She closed the file. I'll handle the final paperwork. You shouldn't hear from her again. If you do, call me immediately. I left her office and drove to work. My phone rang as I pulled into the parking lot. Unknown number, I answered carefully. David Brennan? Yes. This is Michael Porter, general contractor on the Harbor District project. We need to talk about Thomas Vance. What about him? He didn't show up for this morning's site meeting, won't answer his phone. His office says he called in sick, but his secretary sounded worried. And we've got major decisions that need approval today or we're going to have delays. Have you tried his emergency contact? His wife. She said she hasn't heard from him and doesn't care to. I thought about Jennifer Vance filing her asset liquidation papers yesterday, about Thomas getting served, about his complete breakdown at Thursday's meeting. I'll see what I can find out, I said. Appreciate it. We're dead in the water without approvals. I hung up and called my supervisor. Greg, we might have a situation at Harbor District. What kind of situation? Thomas Vance is MIA. General contractor can't reach him. Project is stalled without his approvals. Can we make decisions without him? Not the ones they need. They're major design choices that contractually require owner approval. Greg was quiet for a moment. If Vance doesn't surface by Monday, we need to contact the bank that's financing the project. They'll have to step in. Understood. I spent the rest of Friday morning trying to reach Thomas Vance. Called his office. Secretary said he was unavailable. Called his cell. Straight to voicemail. Sent emails. No response. Around noon, Jennifer Vance called me. David, have you heard from Thomas? No, I've been trying to reach him all morning. Project needs decisions and he's disappeared. I know where he is. Where? His lake house, 2 hours north. He goes there when he's overwhelmed. Probably holed up there avoiding reality. The project can't wait for him to finish avoiding reality. I know, that's why I called. I'm going to give you the address. Someone needs to make him understand that disappearing isn't an option. His contractors need answers. His employees need direction. He can't just abandon everything because he's upset. Why are you telling me this? Because you're the only person involved in this mess who isn't emotionally compromised. You'll tell him the truth without sugarcoating it. And maybe, just maybe, he'll listen. She gave me the address. I sat at my desk thinking about whether I should go, whether it was my problem, whether Thomas Vance deserved any consideration from me. Then I thought about the construction workers at Harbor District, about the legitimate contractors trying to do their jobs, about the project that existed independently of Thomas's personal disasters. I got in my car and drove north. The lake house was exactly what I expected. Expensive, isolated, the kind of place rich people bought as a retreat and then rarely used. Thomas's Range Rover was in the driveway. The house looked dark, even though it was early afternoon. I knocked on the door. No answer. Knocked again. Waited. The door opened. Thomas stood there in sweatpants and a t-shirt, unshaven, looking like he hadn't slept in days. What are you doing here? Your contractors need decisions. You've got a dozen people waiting for approvals so they can do their jobs. I can't deal with that right now. You have to. You're the owner. They can't move forward without you. Then let them wait. They can't wait, Thomas. Every day of delay costs money. Your money. Money you don't have to waste. He laughed bitterly. Money I don't have, period. Jennifer's taking everything. The banks are calling in loans. My business is done. So make the decisions that need to be made and let someone else worry about the financing. The project exists independently of your personal problems. Why do you care? I don't care about you. I care about the people doing actual work who are being held up by your self-pity. He stared at me. You really hate me. I don't hate you. I don't feel anything about you. You're just a guy who made bad choices and now has to live with them. Everything I built is falling apart. Then stop building on lies. Start building on something real. It's too late for that. Probably, but you can still make decisions about electrical rough-ins and finished materials. That's not too late. He stood there in his doorway, looking pathetic and broken, and nothing like the confident developer I'd met at the fundraiser months ago. I don't know if I can go back, he said quietly. You don't have a choice. You either go back and face it, or you declare bankruptcy and walk away completely. But you can't just hide here while people wait for you to make up your mind. What would you do? I'd face it. I'd make the decisions I needed to make. I'd accept that the empire was over and figure out what came next. But I wouldn't hide. He looked at me for a long moment. You're better than me. I'm just honest. That's different from better. Claire said... He stopped. What did Claire say? That you were cold. That you didn't care about anything. That you just walked away without trying to fix things. She's right about walking away. Wrong about not caring. I cared enough to leave when staying became a lie. She's a mess, you know. Calls me constantly. Shows up at my office. She's falling apart. That's not my problem anymore. She still loves you. She loves the idea of not being alone. That's different from loving me. He nodded slowly, like he was recognizing a truth he'd been avoiding. Come back to the site Monday, I said. Make the decisions that need to be made. Deal with the business problems separately. Don't let one disaster create another. Will you be there? I'll be there. I'm the facilities coordinator. It's my job. I left him standing in his doorway and drove back to the city. Called Michael Porter on the way. I found Vance. He'll be back Monday. Have your decision list ready. Thank God. Thank you, David. Don't thank me. Just be ready to move fast when he shows up. That evening, I sat in my apartment thinking about Thomas Vance's lake house, about how easy it would be to just disappear when things got hard, about how tempting it must be to hide from consequences, about how I'd never had that option. I just had to face reality and move forward. My phone buzzed. Text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Claire. I got a new number. Please don't block this one. I need to talk to you. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I blocked the number. Saturday morning, I went to the hardware store and bought supplies for some minor repairs in my apartment. Spent the day fixing a leaky faucet, patching some nail holes in the walls, making the space more permanently mine. Normal tasks, normal life, no drama. My phone rang. Jennifer Vance again. Did you find him? She asked. I did. He'll be back Monday. Thank you. I know that wasn't easy. It was necessary. David, there's something else you should know. Thomas took out a loan 6 months ago using our house as collateral. I didn't know about it until yesterday when the bank called. He's 3 payments behind. How much? $200,000. If he doesn't catch up by end of month, we lose the house. Can you pay it? Not without liquidating retirement accounts. And I'm not doing that to save him from his own stupidity. So the house is gone. The house is gone. His business is gone. His reputation is gone. Everything he built on borrowed money and borrowed credibility is collapsing exactly like it was always going to eventually. And Claire? Jennifer laughed harshly. Claire called me yesterday. Wanted to talk, woman to woman. Wanted to explain that she really loved Thomas and that they had something real and that I should understand. What did you say? I told her Thomas was broke, his business was failing, and she'd tied herself to a sinking ship. Then I hung up. How did she react? She showed up at my house an hour later, screaming about how I was ruining Thomas's life, how I was being vindictive, how she and Thomas deserved happiness. Jennifer's voice was ice cold. I called the police. They escorted her off my property and told her not to come back. Claire's completely unraveling. Good. She deserves it. They both do. After Jennifer hung up, I sat thinking about Claire screaming at Thomas's wife, about how far she'd fallen from the polished real estate agent at fundraisers, about how desperation stripped away the careful image people built for themselves, about how satisfying it was to watch from a distance. Sunday, I went to the gym, came back and cooked a real dinner, called my parents for the first time in weeks and told them about the divorce. They were supportive, unsurprised, and relieved I sounded good. You seem better, my mom said. I am better. We never really understood Claire. She always seemed like she was performing something. She was. Turns out the performance wasn't sustainable. Normal conversation with normal people who cared about me reminded me that life existed outside the drama of the past months. That evening, I got an email from Greg. Vance Properties LLC just brought in a partner investor to stabilize finances. Thomas Vance is staying on as developer but losing majority control. Thought you should know. So Thomas had found a way to save the project by giving up ownership. Smart move, probably his only move. I went to bed thinking about Monday, about what would happen when Thomas came back to face everyone, about how the project would continue even though the person who started it would be fundamentally diminished, about how infrastructure survived when the original builders failed. Monday morning, I arrived at Harbor District early. The site was already busy, contractors working, deliveries arriving, the normal rhythm of construction that happened regardless of ownership drama. Thomas Vance's Range Rover pulled in at 8:30. He got out looking slightly better than Friday, shaved, dressed professionally, but still carrying obvious stress in his shoulders and movements. He saw me and walked over. Thank you for Friday, he said quietly. Don't thank me. Just make the decisions your contractors need. I brought in a partner, investment firm. They're taking 60% equity in exchange for stabilizing the finances. Smart. It means I'm not really in control anymore. They'll be making major decisions going forward. Better than bankruptcy. Yeah. He looked at the construction site. Better than losing everything. The coordination meeting started at 9. Thomas was professional, focused, making decisions efficiently. His new partner, a representative from the investment firm named Robert Palmer, attended via video call, asking intelligent questions and approving budgets. The meeting was productive. The project was moving forward. Thomas had survived by giving up control. Around noon, my supervisor called. "David, I'm getting calls from Claire Brennan. She's trying to get information about the Harbor District project, about Thomas Vance's financial situation, about your role. I told her I couldn't discuss personnel or client matters with her." "Thank you." She sounded desperate, kept saying she needed to understand what was happening, that people were lying to her, that she deserved answers. "She's not entitled to anything from us?" "I know. I just wanted you to be aware she's escalating again." After the call, I went back to the site office and ran into Thomas, leaving a meeting with the general contractor. "David, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Has Claire contacted you recently?" "She tried. I blocked her. She won't stop calling me. Shows up at my office, sends messages through my secretary. She's convinced we can still be together. That once the dust settles, we can make it work." "What did you tell her?" "That it's over. That it was never going to be anything more than what it was. That I'm getting divorced and trying to salvage my business, and I don't have room in my life for her drama." "How did she take it?" "Not well. She threatened to tell my wife everything. I told her my wife already knew. Then she threatened to tell my business partners. I told her they already knew too. She's running out of ammunition. So she's trying to find more. That's why she's calling my supervisor, trying to dig up something she can use." Thomas looked uncomfortable. "I'm sorry she's dragging you into this. I've been in it since you started having an affair with my wife. This is just the ending. For what it's worth, I wish I'd never—" Don't wish you'd never done it. You did it. You chose it. You continued choosing it for months. Wishing it away doesn't change anything." He nodded. "You're right. Focus on your business. Deal with your divorce. Stay away from Claire. That's all you can do now." I left him standing there and went back to work. Tuesday afternoon, I was at my apartment when the building manager called. "David, there's a woman here asking to see you. Says her name is Claire. Says it's an emergency." "Don't let her up. Tell her I'm not available." "She's pretty insistent." "I don't care how insistent she is. She's not allowed access to my apartment. If she doesn't leave, call the police." 10 minutes later, someone pounded on my door. I looked through the peephole. Claire stood in the hallway, face red, clearly crying. "David, I know you're in there. Please just talk to me." I didn't open the door. "David, please. I need to understand what's happening." I called building security. "Claire Brennan is outside my apartment. She's not authorized to be here. Please have her escorted out." The pounding continued. "You can't just hide from me. We need to talk about this." Security arrived 2 minutes later. Through the peephole, I watched them speak to Claire, watched her protest, watched them firmly escort her to the elevator. My phone rang. "Claire." I didn't answer. She called again, and again, and again. I turned off my phone and sat in the silence of my apartment, thinking about how Claire had come here desperate for something, answers, closure, validation, something she thought I could provide. But I had nothing left to give her. She'd used up all her access to me, all her opportunities, all her chances. She was on her own now. Wednesday morning, Patricia Wolf called. "Claire's attorney contacted me. Wants to reopen the settlement discussions." "No." "That's what I told them. But I wanted you to know she's trying." "Let me guess. She wants more money because she's in a difficult financial situation." "Close. She wants spousal support because her, quote, emotional state has made it difficult for her to work." "Her emotional state is caused by her own choices." I told them exactly that, more diplomatically. But the answer is no. We have a signed settlement. It's done. Good. "David, she's spiraling." Her attorney sounded embarrassed even making the request. "This is getting pathetic." "That's not my problem." "I know. I just want you to be prepared if she escalates further." That evening, I got a text from Thomas Vance. "Claire showed up at the Harbor District site today, caused a scene, demanded to see me. Security had to remove her. I'm filing a restraining order tomorrow. Thought you should know." I stared at that message for a long time. Claire had gone to the construction site, had caused a scene, had been forcibly removed. She was completely out of control. Thursday morning, I attended the regular coordination meeting at Harbor District. Thomas was there with his new partner, Robert Palmer, attending in person this time, a sharp-eyed man in his 50s who asked precise questions and made efficient decisions. "I understand there was an incident yesterday," Palmer said. "A woman claiming to be affiliated with the literacy program caused a disruption." Thomas shifted uncomfortably. "It's being handled. I'm filing for a restraining order today." "See that you do. We can't have random people disrupting the construction site. Security needs to be tight." After the meeting, Palmer pulled me aside. You're David Brennan, Facilities Coordinator. That's right. I've reviewed your reports. Very thorough, very professional. Thomas speaks highly of your work. Thank you. I want you to know that despite the ownership change, we value your continued involvement with this project. Whatever personal complications exist between you and Thomas, they haven't affected your professional performance. I appreciate that. The woman yesterday, Claire Brennan. Thomas mentioned she's your ex-wife. Soon-to-be ex-wife, yes. Will she continue to be a problem? I don't control her actions, but I can tell you she has no legitimate business at this site, and any future appearances should be treated as trespassing. Palmer nodded. That's clear, thank you. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Detective Martinez. Mr. Brennan, I'm calling about Claire Brennan. My stomach tightened. What about her? She filed another report. Claims you've been stalking her, following her to work, sending threatening messages, harassing her through third parties. None of that is true. I know. I've already verified your whereabouts for the times she claimed you were following her. You were at work sites with witnesses. The messages she claims you sent don't exist, and the third parties are confused about what they supposedly did. So why are you calling? Because she's filing false reports. That's a crime. But before I arrest her, I wanted to give you the opportunity to press charges or request we handle it as a mental health situation. I thought about that carefully. What would a mental health situation mean? We'd recommend she get psychiatric evaluation. No arrest, no record, but it would be documented that she's unstable and making false claims. Do that. I don't want her arrested. I just want her to get help and leave me alone. Understood. I'll make the arrangements. Detective, one more thing. Yes? Thomas Vance is filing a restraining order against her. She showed up at the construction site and caused a scene. If she violates that order, she needs to be arrested immediately. She's escalating, and someone's going to get hurt if this continues. Noted. We'll keep close watch on the situation. After the call, I sat in my apartment thinking about Claire's complete collapse, about how she'd gone from polished professional to someone filing false police reports and causing scenes at construction sites, about how people revealed their true selves when the carefully built facade crumbled, about how I'd escaped just in time. Saturday, I woke up to 17 missed calls from unknown numbers, all within an hour, all going to voicemail. I listened to the first one. Claire's voice, frantic and desperate. David, please call me back. I need to talk to you. Something terrible happened. Please. I know you don't want to talk to me, but please, just this once. I deleted it without listening to the rest. Deleted all the voicemails, blocked all the numbers. My phone rang again, this time a number I recognized. Jennifer Vance. I answered. David, have you heard from Claire? She's been calling. I haven't answered. She showed up at what used to be my house this morning. The house is in foreclosure now, but I was there getting some final belongings. She came screaming about how I ruined her life, how Thomas was going to leave me for her, and now I'd destroyed everything. What did you do? I called the police. They came and took her away, not arrested, but they are taking her for psychiatric evaluation. She's completely broken down. I sat down slowly. Psychiatric evaluation. She needs it, David. She's not in her right mind. She's dangerous to herself and maybe to others. I know. I'm not calling for sympathy. I'm calling to tell you she's out of circulation for at least 72 hours. Mandatory hold. You can have some peace. Thank you for calling. David, one more thing. Yes? You did the right thing leaving when you did. If you'd stayed, she would have destroyed you too. You got out clean? That takes strength. She hung up. I sat in my apartment thinking about Claire being taken for psychiatric evaluation, about how her complete breakdown had nothing to do with anything I'd done and everything to do with who she'd always been underneath the polished exterior, about how I'd seen the cracks early and had the sense to walk away, about how infrastructure only survives if you build it on solid foundation, and Claire had been built on sand. Monday morning, 3 weeks later, I arrived at the Harbor District site for the final coordination meeting before substantial completion. The project was nearly done. Interior finishes were complete, systems were operational, occupancy permits were pending. Thomas Vance was there, but he was essentially a figurehead now. Robert Palmer and his investment firm ran everything. Thomas attended meetings and signed documents, but had no real power. He looked older, thinner, quieter. The confident developer was gone, replaced by someone who'd learned humility the hard way. Morning, David, he said quietly when I arrived. Morning. This is probably my last coordination meeting, Palmer's team is taking over full project management after substantial completion. What will you do? Smaller projects, things I can actually afford, build my reputation back slowly. He paused. I hear Claire was in psychiatric care for a week. I heard that too. She tried to contact me when she got out. I didn't respond. My restraining order is still active. Good. She sent me a letter, though. My attorney opened it. She's moving away, out of state. Says she can't be in this city anymore. Too many memories. Probably for the best. David, I know I've said this before, but I really am sorry. For all of it. For the affair, for the complications, for everything. I looked at him. This broken version of the man who'd been having an affair with my wife. This diminished person who'd lost his business, his marriage, his reputation. I know you are, I said. But sorry doesn't fix anything. It just makes you feel better about the damage. I know. The meeting proceeded efficiently. All systems approved. All inspections passed. Certificate of occupancy expected by end of week. The project was complete. A success, despite everything. After the meeting, Robert Palmer approached me. David, I wanted to thank you personally. Your coordination work has been exemplary, professional, thorough, exactly what we needed during a difficult transition. Thank you. We're bidding on 2 more projects in the area. I'd like Baxter Facilities Group to be our preferred vendor. Specifically, I'd like you assigned to both projects. I'll discuss it with my supervisor. Please do. He handed me his card. You're the kind of professional we want to work with, someone who does the job regardless of personal complications. I left the site thinking about how the project had succeeded, how the building stood complete and functional, how all the systems worked properly, how the infrastructure I'd coordinated would serve tenants for decades, while the people who'd caused all the drama had fallen away or diminished into irrelevance. That afternoon, Patricia Wolfe called with final news. The divorce is finalized. You're officially no longer married to Claire Brannon. How do I feel? However you want to feel. You're free. I feel relieved. Good. That's healthy. She paused. I heard she moved to Phoenix. Fresh start somewhere she doesn't have history. I heard that too. You did good work here, David. You documented everything, stayed professional, didn't retaliate, and let her destroy herself. That's harder than it sounds. It was easier than staying. True. After the call, I sat at my desk and pulled up my personal files. The folder I'd created months ago with all the documentation, the photos from Harbor District showing Claire and Thomas together, the timeline of their affair, the evidence I'd carefully compiled. I looked at it all one more time. Then I deleted the entire folder. I didn't need it anymore. The divorce was final. The project was complete. The story was over. Wednesday afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. This is Claire. I know you probably won't read this, but I wanted you to know I'm moving to Phoenix. Fresh start. I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive me. I'll always love you. I read it twice. Then I blocked the number and deleted the message. There was nothing to respond to, nothing to say. No closure needed that I hadn't already found by moving on. Thursday, I met with Greg Hutchins about the 2 new projects Palmer had mentioned. They're major developments, Greg said. High profile, good money. And Palmer specifically requested you. I'll take them. You sure? After everything with Harbor District? Harbor District succeeded despite the personal drama. That's what I do. I make sure the infrastructure works regardless of what's happening around it. Greg smiled. That's why you're good at this job. That evening, I sat in my apartment, truly my apartment now, with no shared history or joint obligations, and thought about the past months. About how Claire had told me her friends were embarrassed by me. About how I'd packed my things and left that note. Problem solved. About how Thomas Vance had lost his business trying to impress her. About how Claire had lost everything trying to hold on to something that was never going to work. About how I'd lost nothing except a relationship that was already gone. I pulled out my laptop and opened my project files for the 2 new developments. Started reviewing plans, making notes, preparing for the work ahead. Normal work, normal life, normal future. No drama, no revenge plots, no elaborate schemes. Just patience, just documentation, just stepping back and letting people destroy themselves through their own choices. That had been my revenge. Not action, but inaction. Not aggression, but boundaries. Not scheming, but simply refusing to save people from consequences they'd created. Friday morning, I drove past the Harbor District building on my way to a site inspection. The building stood complete, ready for occupancy. The community space on the second floor had been finished. The literacy program would move in next month. Everything worked, everything functioned, the infrastructure held, because that's what infrastructure does. It supports, it stabilizes, it endures. While the people who take it for granted eventually realize too late how much they needed it. I drove to my next site thinking about foundations and systems and the invisible work that keeps everything running. Thinking about how I'd been invisible for 3 years, supporting a relationship that didn't value me, maintaining a life that wasn't sustainable. Thinking about how I'd finally stopped being invisible by choosing to be absent instead. That was the difference. Invisible people are there, just unnoticed. Absent people are gone entirely. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is be gone when people expect you to stay. 3 months later, I was having coffee before work when an article in the business section caught my eye. Vance Properties files for bankruptcy protection. I read it carefully. Thomas Vance's remaining projects had been seized by creditors. His company was being liquidated. The article mentioned his divorce, his financial mismanagement, his spectacular fall from local developer success to cautionary tale. I felt nothing reading it. No satisfaction, no sympathy. Just acknowledgement that consequences had continued their natural progression. The same newspaper, 2 pages over, had a small real estate listing that made me pause. Claire's old apartment, our old apartment, was for rent. She'd apparently broken the lease when she moved to Phoenix. The landlord was looking for new tenants. Someone else would live there now, create their own memories, build their own life in that space. The history I'd shared with Claire in those rooms had been erased like chalk on a sidewalk after rain. I finished my coffee and drove to work. I had inspections to conduct, reports to file, systems to coordinate. Real work that mattered. The Harbor District building would open next week. The 2 new Palmer projects were in early construction phases. My calendar was full of meetings and site visits and normal professional obligations. My personal life was quiet. Dating occasionally, spending time with friends, visiting my parents, living in a way that felt authentic instead of performed. I'd survived the affair, the divorce, the drama, the complications, survived by doing something radical, nothing. I hadn't sought revenge. I'd sought distance. I hadn't attacked. I'd documented. I hadn't engaged. I'd enforced boundaries. And that had been enough. Because sometimes the best way to win is to stop playing the game entirely, to walk away while others destroy themselves fighting for a prize that was never worth having. Claire was in Phoenix. Thomas was bankrupt. Jennifer had moved on. The Harbor District project stood complete and functional, and I was here, free, clear, building something real on solid foundation. That's what infrastructure does. It endures. That's what I did. I endured, and in the end, that was the only revenge that mattered. Not their destruction, my survival, not their loss, my freedom, not their regret, my peace. I pulled into the parking lot at my first site inspection, got out of my car, and went to work. Just another Thursday, just another series of systems to check, problems to solve, infrastructure to maintain, invisible work, essential work, the kind of work that holds everything together. The kind of work I did better than anyone because I understood something fundamental about foundations. They don't need to be seen to be strong. They just need to be there when everything else falls apart. And I was still standing while everything around Claire and Thomas had collapsed. That was enough. That was everything. I walked into the building, clipboard in hand, ready to inspect the mechanical systems on the 4th floor. Ready for another normal day, ready for a life built on truth instead of lies, ready for everything.